Good morning, Skeptic Stories. Hope you guys are good sunny yellow. Can yellow for us work? Can yellow for me work? Guys, can you hear me? Just want to put the music on quickly. Welcome to our first broadcast, our live broadcast via our Facebook and via our radio station. With me in the studio, I have my partner in crime, Bionova. Says he's so like Sunday, best for the answer. Says he's so. There's Bionova. So you guys can get us on what's the thing's name on our app, on the K-Flits app, K-Flits Stories app. Also, you guys can just live stream with us as we're going to speak to quite a few people this morning about heritage. Wat is heritage? Dit is miskien ding wat ons mense vergeet het waarvan ons kom, dit is en ja, wat ons op pad is. So today in the studio we have our very first guest and Bionova will do that broadcast or ask the questions. A young lady that's doing very well for herself. As ek net haarself praat, sy's 'n researcher. Nou sy soek nie mense ken wat weer geraak het nie. Sy doen research. Sy moet ons mense ken die terme dan dit is so verkeerd die aan die oos. Sy's 'n researcher, sy search vir mense se kinders no. She does research but she will explain more to us on what it is that she's doing. Please do share this live broadcast and yeah, Bionova, over to you, friend.
Okay, so we are as a bit of a technical issue, but julle weet mos as 'n mens dinge probeer reg doen, dan is dit mos nou altyd dinge gaan mos nou verkeerd. But today we're gonna make the most of it. Isn't it so, Zina?
Yes,
Ek weet nie wie's meer nervous, ek of Zina nie. But okay, let's do this. I would like to introduce Zina first before we start with our interview. Zina het 'n baie 'n kwai CV. Huh? So Zina Jacobs is an associate researcher at an institute that does research policies, engagement, teaching, and training about chronic poverty, economic and marginalization and structural inequality in South Africa. That's a mondvol, maar probably you will explain what that means. Okay. She is from the Cape Flats and she holds a master's degree in geography, environmental science from UWC with a thesis that's titled Territory and Exclusions, Constellations over Space in Mitchell's Plain. Mense, moenie worry nie, sy gaan dit explain for us, okay? The focus of the research was on a manner in which the constant growth of the informal settlements in Cape Town, South Africa, places significant pressure on our local and national authorities, and more so local social dynamics. So it is a lot to do with our informal instructions, and she explores the themes of belonging, exclusions, and tensions within marginalized communities, such as the Equalo informal settlement in Mitchell's Plain. She's young, professional, she's a youth leader, and she's also a community leader or an active community leader. Okay. So Zina, tell us a little bit more about die mondvol wat ons nou net gehoor het.
Wow, thank you so much for the introduction. Sure, quite the introduction. I appreciate that. I'm currently at an institute where we do research. My study area, I'm based in Cape Town. I'm based in Mitchell's Plain. So I'm currently part of a greater project that does research in the whole of South Africa, but we are essentially looking at urban conservation.
Okay.
With regards to my thesis, is I just graduated
Okay.
a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
And with my thesis, I looked at local social dynamics within Mitchell's Plain. I looked at informal settlements, the pressure that informal settlements place on local government, national government, but I mainly looked at the pressure that informal settlements place on existing communities. So my study area was Mitchell's Plain, of course, because I live in Mitchell's Plain. I'm from Mitchell's Plain, born and bred. Local is liquor. And so my thesis looked at Isikalo informal settlements specifically. So I looked at, what are some of the dynamics? Where did it start? How did it start? How is it affecting the community of Mitchell's Plain? What is the relationship between the residents in Mitchell's Plain and the residents in Isikalo? Of course, there's a lot of tension, there's a lot of frustration, but where it started was May 2018. So back in May 2018 was really, okay, for as long as I've lived in Mitchell's Plain I think since the start of Isikalo in about 2011, 2012, there's always been protest action.
Yeah.
There's always been protest action along Vanguard,
Yeah.
along Jack's Gerwel. There's been protest action right next door to the Colorado Park community. So in May 2018, the tensions, it was quite intense. It was deep, it boiled over. And this was the first time actually that the residents of Mitchell's Plain sort of retaliated.
Yeah.
The roads were barricaded again. People couldn't get through Vanguard to go to work. Schools were closed down. The local fruit and veg store.
Yeah,
on
I
the
can remember
corner,
that, yeah.
Yes, it was burned down.
Yes.
The garage opposite was also, burned down as well and targeted. So with my thesis, when I was trying to conceptualize this whole idea, I was wondering, is there something deeper here? On the surface level, we see protests, but why would the Mitchell's Plain community, retaliate? Why is Isikalo going to this extent? To what are they trying to bring across? What is really beneath the surface? So my thesis, I basically used the protest as a prism to look at narratives of belonging and narratives of exclusion, and to establish the relationship between people and the space of Mitchell's Plain, the two groups, also the relationship between the two groups, and yeah, just to understand both groups' connection to land and explore the socioeconomic status and local aspirations of both groups. So that's what I do with this. Yeah.
Okay. So why were you so stuck on getting almost like both sides of the story? Like belonging, because in your poster we see part of it is the rights to the city. Why was that important to you?
Okay, so with rights to the city was a very key theme in my thesis. So it's a concept that was introduced by a well-known philosopher and sociologist many years ago. And the idea with rights to the city is, the people who live in the city. It questions whether the people who live in the city, who are part of the makeup of the city, how much decision-making power do they have? Are their voices being recognized? When we talk about rights to the city, we talk about who has a say and who doesn't, but who lives in the city and who doesn't. So with rights to the city, what I basically try to do is what this theme does, it looks at the way our social, political, and economic sphere is structured and restructured. And with rights to the city, I looked at how the citizens of Cape Town should have a say in the economic development, the socio-economic development of Cape Town. And the reason why I looked at Isikalo and I looked at Mitchell's Plain is because what we see happening in Mitchell's Plain and Isikalo, the tensions, the frustrations, it's not limited to Mitchell's Plain. It's happening in the whole of Cape Town. I can even go further, it's happening in the whole of the Western Cape. With the protest action between Isikalo and with the protest action of Mitchell's Plain, on the surface, it seemed like it was just of a service delivery. But underneath the surface, what was it actually about? It was actually about wanting their voices to be recognized by the government, wanting their needs to be recognized, both communities, not just Isikalo, but Mitchell's Plain as well. With Mitchell's Plain, the dynamics were different, of course, because with Mitchell's Plain, there's a long history of oppression. There's a long history of marginalization, which I'm sure we'll get to in a minute. But I really looked at this relationship between the two communities, and I tried to unpack what is the cry of the people in Mitchell's Plain, and what is the cry of the people in Isikalo? Or is the cry similar? Is it different? What are the dynamics? What are the differences? What are the similarities? What can we bring to the conversation when it comes to people in Mitchell's Plain? Those narratives. And yeah, there were quite a few similarities, quite a few, and quite a bit of injustices. And so yeah, I'd like to unpack that.
So what did the research actually reveal? Are we similar? Are we that much different? What is happening? Is it just a black versus colored situation? What did the thesis?
Okay, very interesting. So with my findings, firstly, putting together this thesis, I must say, was a bit of a challenge because of, there's a lack of studies that's being done on the Cape Flats. It's very limited. I mean, there are studies, but I would say Mitchell's Plain in particular, and this topic in particular. So one of the things that my studies reveal is, when it comes to informal settlement, with the growth of informal settlements in Cape Town, with the growth of informal settlements on the Cape Flats, there's also a growth of pressure that's being put on the state to supply, services, to supply housing, to supply jobs. So there's a lot of pressure that is put on local authorities, right? But with my thesis, I looked at the pressure that's being put on existing communities, the local social dynamics. And with the growth of informal settlements, we see so much more tension on the Cape Flats. Why? Because our people are already dealing with so many service issues. Mitchell's Plain, when we talk about Isikalo and housing and service delivery, we can't ignore the issue of backyard dwellers. There's so much pressure and there's really a need for housing. The need for housing is constantly growing. And, so one of the things that I found is that the distribution of housing in Cape Town is failing to keep up with the growth of informal settlements. The distribution of housing is also failing to keep up with the population growth within the Cape Flats. So housing was a key thing. One of my key themes was to do with housing because, Mitchell's Plain residents were protesting. Were they protesting because, or were they retaliating against Isikalo because a few roads were blocked off? No, there's something deeper there, right? And one of the things was to do with housing. So another key theme my thesis talked about is the way in which our government has dealt with the housing issue, right? Informal settlement. Okay, no, let's talk about informal settlements in particular. So the two main ways that our government is dealing with them is number one, through the city's anti-land invasion unit, right? And then number two is through temporary location areas, right? And so moving people to an area for a certain period of time with the promise that housing will be provided at a later stage. And so the growth of these areas, these temporary relocation areas, TRAs, is directly a result of informal settlements, right? It directly comes from that. And it's basically a new form of housing distribution. But remember, we already have an existing system of housing distribution, which is where you get registered, first come, first served basis, right? So what I noticed is that now you have this existing system, but now you have this new system as well. But now the question is, which system is being prioritized? Who is being at the forefront and who is not, who is being forgotten? And that is what my thesis looked at. So who is on the list? And forgotten, yeah, I'm saying forgotten, we understand that. Yeah.
Correct.
So what my thesis looked at is, or what I picked up is that, we say Sikalo is jumping the queue, your people are jumping the queue. But who has the decision making power? Right? Rights to the city, who has that decision making power? Who is responsible for the distribution of land? Who is responsible for the fair distribution of housing? Who is responsible for the distribution of resources within the city? And so that is what it just identifying those gaps and not necessarily providing solutions for it. I did make a few recommendations of this, but simply looking at what's happening on the ground, what is it that we are missing, and so that is what I looked at.
Interesting, interesting. You mentioned something about temporary relocation, right? And that brings us kind of to the next question. We have this new issue that's reigning over Mitchell's Plain about PRASA. How does that link? Is that something similar that is happening right now to Mitchell's Plain, putting already pressurized system under more pressure?
Yes, absolutely. So, the new situation regarding PRASA and the development, moving residents to the PHA. I mean, absolutely. It's going to, firstly, it's going to cause more pressure on the state. I mean, the state is under severe strain. I think having to keep up with having to provide infrastructure, having to provide services. So I think that's definitely providing more pressure on the state. I also think it's going to and is already putting way more pressure on residents within Mitchell's Plain. I mean, look at the tensions that are. I've been following, all of the community meetings, and I've been following all of the conversations, the debates surrounding this issue. And I'm not sure if you've noticed, but the climate in Mitchell's Plain is it's different.
Yeah.
Over the past few weeks,
Yeah.
it's become more tense, and and so with Isikalo back then, we could feel the tension building. We could see, right?
Yeah.
That was even the start of, civil society movements such as Gat for Cape Town. That's where it started back in May 2018. And so now with the PRASA, I mean, of course, it's going to cause more tension. I think it's going to cause more frustration. But I think it's also in a strange way. I think it's causing a bit of unity, which is good. We are being forced to join forces, which I think is good. But I also think that it's almost as if this is like a ticking time bomb that is slowly just increased over the years. But I think it's gonna be very interesting to see how this turns out, and I'm hoping that the residents of Mitchell's Plain will really unite and bring our voices to the forefront.
I just want to throw in a curveball. You know, I must throw in a curveball. So
And
I've been listening for a while now. And we're going to talk about it. I spoke to a lot of different political parties on moving off the people of Gaza. So, like you mentioned correctly, it feels as if the people of Moses Plain, the Cape Flats, are being overlooked. There's people in the backyards for the last 30, 40 years. Um, our people or people of the Cape Flats didn't go to a railroad, to a train station, to the houses there. If we do that, it's against the law. So I just want to throw a little bit of something else here. I don't know if you've been following Hamburg. So I always use it. Hamburg is a place in Houtwijk. So whenever our people extend, so for example, Bangladesh is much further, we do it nicely. Then the city, and the next day, to throw it down. I've been following this for a long time. And then go down by the town. People are building houses. Staying in the thing about building these type of houses, this type of stuff, that it expands. You can have 2 years today, tomorrow it's going to be 30, 40. That's just how it is. But I feel that government is not being fair towards everyone. If we build a little room in the back by our families, right? Then it is an issue with the law. They come and they break it down. But as soon as the people of Sequala extends, nothing happens. I also feel government is making this a ratio where they're telling us, okay, the black people is fine, you can get away with it. I mean, we had a meeting last weekend, Thursday, Wednesday. people from Sequalo came and raised their concerns. Now, according to me, they are illegally squatting there. How can you have an issue with the people of Gaza if you did the same thing years ago? So I think government is not stepping in, and I think this is a political thing. I will be honest with you. I'll give my 5 cents. I think the ANC is setting the DA up to lose shakedown. That's what I see, and they will can be next week for this. But that is what I feel. I think this is a political thing. How do you see it? Do you see it just as incompetence, or do you see it just as, they don't know what to do? Or do you also feel, from your studies, can this be a political move?
Yes, I mean, absolutely. I think that, when I was speaking to people, because I had to enter Sikalo as well. So from entering the communities and speaking to people, there's definitely, and from speaking to people in Mitchell's Plain as well, there's definitely a sense that there's a political agenda that is being attached. Absolutely. I think that a lot of people, residents in Mitchell's Plain, are also, frustrated and feel as though there are empty promises, right? People in Mitchell's Plain are tired of empty promises, of being promised a certain thing. And then, after election time, and then what are the results, what are we getting, you promise us X, Y, and Z on the basis that we'll vote for you, but what is actually happening on the ground? With Sikalo, there have been rumors that Sikalo was started as part of a political agenda to begin with, for votes. And so those type of rumors are the things that I found out on the ground. I also think that it's very important that government must be held accountable. The issue when it comes to Sikalo, when it comes to informal settlements, we really need to identify what are the push factors, what is pushing people, because we understand that informal settlements are a result of the state not being able to keep up with the growing demand that the housing needs, right? And that is why informal settlements exist, right? But we need to identify what are the underlying issues, what are the push factors. The push factor, of course, is poverty. And so now we are having to deal with, informal settlements. We are having to deal with land invasions, land grabs, and so on. But what about those push factors? What about those? What about the poverty? Is that being addressed? Or are there political agendas that are involved behind the scenes? And at the end of the day, which community is actually suffering because of this? What is happening on the ground? What about the communities like Mitchell's Plain who already has a history of marginalization, who already has a history of, or as it experiences high crime rates, substance use, drug abuse, high unemployment. I mean, the youth unemployment is so high in Mitchell's Plain. So should that be it? Absolutely.
For those joining us on the radio, let's just quickly introduce Zina again. So Zina is an associate researcher that has a thesis on territory and exclusions over the specific plan. And so we just based on what you just said, we spoke about the political, spoke about all those things. Let's bring it back to the people in the area. How much, right, of our past trauma with land, okay, is busy influencing how we live today and is being transferred to the next generation?
Okay, that's a very good question. So when it comes to land, when it comes to Mitchell's Plain, when it comes to Cape Flats, we have a very infamous history because of the forced removals, right? And so with the Cape Mitchell's Plain is a result of so much violence. It's a result of so much hurt and so much trauma. So when we talk about land issues today, it's impossible for us to talk about land issues today without reflecting on the land issues and the history of Mitchell's Plain. For many people, land is it's an emotive topic. That Marco's emotional. Is your identity can be tied to your land. There are people that were removed from Constantia. There are people that were removed from all different places from Simonstown. So when we talk about land today, we can't divorce the two. We can't divorce land and identity. So for same is exactly the same for the people of color, for the colored people in Mitchell's Bay. When we look at even yes, apartheid is over, we are many years post democracy. But when we look at the spatial geography of Cape Town today, there's still so much divide. The divide is it's evident um, when we look at which people are occupying which spaces within the city of Cape Town. Apartheid is over, absolutely. The laws are absolutely different. But when you physically look at Cape Town, is a difference, when we look at the geography, how has that changed? It hasn't changed that much. And so land today remains an emotional thing. Your identity, when I was speaking to residents in Mitchell's Plain, conducting my interviews, I would speak to, the aunties on the stoop, the omas of the stoop, and so, and I would speak to them and I would ask them, what is your connection to where you are living now? And so many of the older people would say, I'm gonna die here. I'm gonna die on this property. This is my place. So, I mean, why would they have that approach? Why would they feel that? Because there's a history there. There's a long, deep history of land that was violently removed. And so now today, I'm reacting this way to a situation. Why? Because in the past, I was violently removed from my land. And so now today, I'm going to be more protective. And that is why one of the themes of my thesis are territory, territory and contestations of this space. And I think it's very important to not forget about our history. It's so perfect that now we're celebrating heritage. Land is a part of our heritage, the history. And so how it ties into our future generation, it's so important to, I think, as people of color, we have an identity. And if our identity is tied to our land, then of course this is something we need to pass on to our future generation. And I think that is why it is also so important for us to um, speak about this issue with PRASA and PHA and Sikalo and um, issues within religious Spain as well, because this is something that we are going to have to pass on eventually. We are going to we have to pass it on to the next generation. So yeah, definitely.
We do understand that there's a lot of questions and we'll definitely bring Zena back, maybe for a panel discussion. Unfortunately, due to our technical difficulties, we are running a bit late. And we have she brought up a lot about land in our connection with land. And next we have Uncle Charlie that will be talking about the removal from Constantia. So it will tie in very nicely with that. Just a last question maybe for you. How do you think we heal the wounds from today onwards? It's Heritage Day.
Mm.
Is there even something to celebrate when it comes to land? And how do we move forward?
Okay. I think, you know, as a people, we really need to voice our narrative. I think part of the process to heal includes knowing our history and celebrating our identity, celebrating our voice. Um, I think that is really, when I was speaking to residents in Mitchell's Plain, you really get a sense of marginalization. When you speak to people, you really get a sense of, they want their voices to be heard as well. They want their needs as well in both communities. But I would say when I was speaking to Mitchell's Plain residents, there are so many ways in which residents in Mitchell's Plain have felt marginalized when it comes to service delivery, when it comes to housing, when it comes to, you know, um, just going to home affairs, when it comes to just, wanting their children to be in a safe school, when it comes to wanting their children to have job opportunities, whatever the case may be, there's really a sense of wanting their cry to be heard, wanting our cry to be heard. And I think part of healing is recognizing that and acknowledging that and bringing those voices to the forefront. Right? And then I also think that there's really a need, there's a great need for unity in Mitchell's Plain. Whether we like it or not, I don't know. I don't think Isikalo is moving anytime soon, right? So there's really we really need unity, the relationship between the communities there needs to be peace. We need to focus on solutions, I would say. And so yeah, I think on the part of government and issues to do with housing and issues to do with service delivery, I think there's definitely also a need for more transparency and more communication. The situation with Prasa, why was the residents of Mitchell's Bay one of the last to find out? So there's definitely a need for more communication and more transparency from the state side. But I would say as a community, as a people, our voices need to be heard. The narratives need to be included in different spheres, whether it's in my instance, whether it's in research, academics, whether it's in media, whatever the case may be. I definitely think that these voices need to be um, moved to the forefront. So yeah.
Yes, Zena was very nervous, but I think she did the topic
Very
well.
well, very well.
Thank you.
But just to bring it back to you and your studies, oftentimes we hear people have gotten their masters. What does that mean? How much effort do you have to put in? What are some of the challenges that you had to go through just to obtain this state degree?
Yeah, so some of the challenges, I think, in terms of the research itself, like I said, putting this concept together was difficult because, we really need more literature on the Cape Flats case studies and so on. So, identifying these themes, identifying territory, identifying senses of belonging and exclusion, I mean, that was a bit of a challenge. I think literature more on land on the Cape Flats is what we need, housing service delivery and so on. Another challenge was COVID-19, of course. With COVID-19, everything's moved online. And I think not just for myself, I think for many young people on the Cape Flats, do we have that structure at home to support that transition? Do we have the computers? Do we have the Wi-Fi? And do we have even a desk at home to, study? Do we have that quiet space to study and to do your assignments? Do we have a printer? Where do you get a printer? You know? So I think that was definitely COVID definitely was tough for myself, and I think I speak for a lot of young people on the Cape Flats. And just I think with your thesis, there's so much isolation. Everyone, I'm also doing your masters, and study, but it's just you and the masters alone. At the end of the day, it's not the other twee. It's just you and the books and the reading and everything. So I think that isolation. I mean, not a lot of people know that doing your studies, it's an isolated, it's a lonely process. Um, so that was also a big challenge. During the pandemic, and because as a result of the pandemic, I lost my uncle, and so I had to, that grief, while at the same time, I had to make sure that I'm meeting deadlines at Bosley. And so I think for a lot of young people on the Cape Flats as well, that have to deal with losing loved ones due to many reasons. In my instance, it was COVID. For other people, it can be lost due to cancerism, sicknesses, and so on. And so, yeah, That's another thing, like another big challenge that caused some delays with my thesis, of course, because I needed that time. And then apart from that, while you're studying, everyone is proud of you, you're studying. But at the same time, your family is like, oh, babe, shame go babe. Because you're old enough to work, you're old enough to contribute towards the household as well.
Yeah.
But now you're studying, so okay, while you're studying, you have that understanding that look, it's a sacrifice, short-term sacrifice for the long-term gain. but at the same time, your family shames me, you know. I'm very fortunate, associated to have a family who supported me. You know, I'm really a product of strong colored women that always supported me, my mother, my grandmother, my aunts. And so I have a grandmother, you know, Oma, who always tell me, "Jy gaan leer. Moenie worry me. You know, we have a roof over our head, we have food to eat, go study, go do it." And you know, today I can say I don't regret the decision. It was hard work and sacrifice, but I'm reaping the rewards definitely today. So yeah, I want to encourage young people on the Cape Flats, go and study, go and pursue the degree, go and pursue the diploma, the certificate, because short-term sacrifice but long-term gain,
That's right.
definitely. So
I
yeah,
just, I
thank
just
you.
want to, I just want to come, and say, well done. First of all, the more young ladies I see, educated young ladies, it actually allows us to be proud of you guys because it was normally the uncle wat gedenk. Dit is die uncle wat gedenk het of wat gedenk, but in your case, you made something of yourself. You went to go study and you've touched on a very valuable point myself. I spoke about it yesterday in this room with a few of the businessmen here. And we said the government is giving funding to previous private students, but the requirement is either this, you need to have Wi-Fi. Many of us also don't have access to that. And I mean, that is true because it ties into what you've said earlier on about how we were, my mother were forcefully removed from Constantia. That is our wealth that is stolen from us. But there's also a thing that is going around that and I think it's political motivated. Our families were actually looting other properties in Constantia. They didn't own it. So there is politicians that are saying our people didn't own the land, it belonged to the Jews. And that's another topic for another day. But this is what I want to say, and I want to encourage you to continue what you're doing because you're inspiring thousands of other young colored ladies on the Cape Flats. And that's the move. That's why I have you on. That's why I have you on. Because they're strong ladies and they know what they want and they inspire other young people. So keep up the good work.
Thank you so much, Stan, and thank you so much for having me. I found out this morning that I'm the first interview on the radio app. What an honor. Thank you so much for having me, you know, and I really appreciate the kind words. Thank you.
Thank you.
The first and you will come back.
Absolutely, definitely, yeah. Anytime, anytime.
Thank you.
So for those who joined us, thank you. Just a reminder that Zena Jacobs, a researcher or associate researcher, that she tackles or has recently obtained a master's in geography and environmental science for UWC. And we'll definitely have her back to answer all those questions that you guys posted on Facebook. Also, is jammer vir dit. Miskien nou wanneer ek try inkom, dan gaan ons meer tyd hê vir meer questions because of all the technical problems is gone right now. So we just want to take this time to thank Zina again for coming into our space and just sharing with us her pieces and all the sacrifices basically she made to get to these conclusions. And also like an inspiration for all of us to go back and study, but also it's an eye opener for us as a community to back our students a bit more when it comes to studying. Ons is gewoon te sê gaan study, yeah, but we don't back them and you brought that to light. So thank you for that. So with that we want to say thank you. Zina, any other words?
Nan, I just want to say thank you so much for having me. I hope to be back soon, hopefully. And yeah, thank you so much to everyone who took the time out to join in and to listen and to be part of the conversation. Thank you.
Thank you. We will see you guys in the next 10 minutes with Uncle Charlie that will be speaking to us about the removal from Constantia. Okay? So we can see you like
I will still sit with him and talk with him because it's not a license for music school. So, hey guys, hope you guys are good. Hope you gaan goed. So that was Zina. Zina is an educated woman. She touched on a lot of vital points that we discussed on Monday. It was a Monday night, and I think it's important for our young people to also know about what's happening, the land things and so on, and what has been happening over the last few years, when it comes to land. I think we were the first victims who came out of, expropriation without compensation. I think that is what I always talk about. And for that reason, they set us back many years because we don't have property. We have to go to the bank, and we can't use a part of every time as a card because of the safe was racial and so on. But yeah, guys, I'll be back now. Give me 1 minute, and I'll be back with you guys in a second. Here we go. All right. No,
Just you two.
Hi, Cape Flats Stories. Ons is weer terug. Hoop het gaat goed saam met julle. Sorry man, die Engels en goed om het man recht krijgt. Jy weet, ek het nog match kwijt gedoen in match nie. Ek het match lift gedoen. So let me just put on the radio station quickly. We are on air again. And there we go. So thank you so much. That was our first interview. Please do excuse us. Ons maak 'n bietjie foute. Jy weet, ons begin maar daaronder. But one of these days when we have the team together, which will be in the next couple of weeks, and everything is sorted out, there will be no room for errors. So with me in the studio, I've got the uncle that I've met. I actually met his wife, and then she started talking about her husband that actually, are from Constantia. Now, my ma, and I'm so honored to speak to Uncle Charlie because my mother is from Constantia. We will remember this. A lot of people don't want us to talk about this, but we were forcefully removed from Constantia, and that is part of our heritage. Not forgetting the struggle, and like I said just now, we were the first victims of land expropriation without compensation. And you can say what you want, we were never compensated. Some of our people are living in your Pargut, your Otri, renting flats for the last 30, 40 years, and we need to acknowledge that. So, without any further ado, I'm going to introduce Uncle Charlie to you, and my colleague, Bionafa Lady B, she will do the bio for you. So, Uncle Charlie, welcome to Cape Flats Stories.
Thank you, Stanley. It's a privilege for me being here, telling my side of the story. Yeah. Okay. So I was born. I was born in Constantia. I was born to Helen, the first chapter. Yeah, and we. I lived in Constantia until about the age of about almost 6 years old. When we were moved. And there's like certain things that I can still remember.
I'd say stories.
Kyk vir my as 'n kind. Dit is ek en my broer, ons was gebore in Constantia. Die ander siblings van ons is gebore toe hulle was gemove met Parkwood. Yeah.
Uncle Charlie, a lot of people were moved, like hulle was gemoved geweest van Constantia, right? But I think, I don't want to say the bulk, but a lot of people were moved to Parkwood. Parkwood sort of became the dumping grounds for the people of Constantia. Other areas as well.
Yes, because our family was split. Actually, and some of the family, my grandma, they were moved to Menenberg. And other part of the family was moved to the tree. So that is actually what happened as well. But I'll still going to come to that story later.
Kan ons gaan net vir die mense explain wie Uncle Charlie is, for those on radio. Okay, so right now we have a Parkwood resident, but back then it was Parkwood, now you Lotus, River residents. Charlie Drafter shared his family's rich legacies as flower growers, and they plan or they pain of losing the Constantia during the time of various act force removals. He also shares the stories of hope and how they found their way back to Constantia. So dit is nog weer terug.
Yeah.
Okay. Hulle groei nou weer blomme, groei flowers. And now back to the grounds where his father and grandfather once worked. Yes. So julle was weg, julle is nou weer terug.
Yeah.
So you were saying how is your family business generated or has been living off the land from back then and coming back?
Okay, so what happened with the forced removals? So we were still allowed. The house was still there on the property, and we were still allowed to go. Whatever flowers was planted on the ground, we will still see to it in that, in order for us to get our harvest from it in that. So But my family, they came back almost into the 1800s in that same valley doing flowers. And it started from a great grandmother down the generations to where we are now. Actually, me and my brother, we actually like fifth generation flower growers. And but coming back to the story of when we were moved, so it was very painful, especially for my parents, grandparents. You can see because grandfather was still doing flowers in Constantia. And then when we were moved to Parkwood, my father had a truck, an old Bedford truck that he bought himself from working and that. So he used that truck then with a lot of the neighborhood children, which were also from the Constantia area. And every afternoon when we come from school from Parkwood, we had to go and water our gardens in Constantia. So we just load a lot of us on this truck, and then we go to Constantia. And then, but what we as children enjoy about that, because that is actually something that we miss in the Parkwood area, because you had small gardens.
Yeah.
But there you had gardens with fruits in season. So whenever you go there and you do the flowers, you water the gardens, and then after that, no, no is a take on vrugte te pluk.
Oh, okay.
And that was the most enjoying part of it for us as children. And I mean, that is something that my children, they don't have something like that. But I'm lucky that I still have.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
How was your family, right? I'm talking about the whole family affected by the forced removal in the apartheid period.
Right. This is now something that is very touching as well, because my dad, he never really wanted to speak about it, but he told us like some stories of the convention. But what was very hard so is the mere fact that they split the families. It's not like they built like an area like Parkwood and say, okay, this whole family is going to move to Parkwood. So no, they were building areas like Parkwood, Hanover Park, Menenberg, Retreat, and then they split your family. And we were in Parkwood, my uncle was in Retreat, and then my grandma was in Menenberg. And just to think about that now, if you don't have a car to travel, and you a family of say four children, mother and father, and now you must take public transport also to get there. They actually made it very difficult for us to visit our families. And I think that was probably the most hard score of it all, because I think they know what they were doing. It might not seem to a lot of people that they just put you there because there's a house for you. But our people move because of thinking, okay, now I'm gonna get the house. Because when I sometimes when I talk to my father back in the days, he say, yeah, but now they put you in the house. So that, but not really thinking of what it would do to their self-esteem as well. Because now you go into the house and you're happy. You come with a house where where you used to go chop your own wood, right? And 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 no running toilets, and now they move you to something like say, oh, okay, this is now maybe a bit better than what it was, but not really, because some of them, and when I speak to some of my uncles, they still feel the brunt of being put out of conscience. You see?
Kan ek net so gou
Yes.
'n side note gooi, because ek is mos nog ek is nie oud nie
Yes, yes.
en ek was ook nie jonk nie. Laat ons dit daar sit.
Okay.
So ons verstaan nie regtig die hele Constantia, the act removal nie.
Yes.
Maar wat ek van u hoor nou is dat daar was baie promises gemaak and I'm not taking it from the main perspective of it, that's what it will. So as a man, you must like provide, you must
Yes.
protect. And
Yes.
so under this cloud of you're gonna give your family a better life,
Mm-mm.
kan dit het dit actually meer die familie opgebreek in 'n sens. Families het opgebreek. En wat het dit gedoen aan ons manne, ons oupas en oupa grootjies wat supposedly vir ons nou moet agterna kyk en amper soos nou dat hulle die ding gebeur
Ja.
aan hulle familie.
As dit baie van hulle hartseer gemaak, sou ek sê. Want kyk, jy was nou naby 'n weekspreek, wat ek kon geloop het na. So now, jy was nou geskuif na die areas en hy nou moet hy travel om te kom toe daar. En jou verdiensel was maar min. En kyk, vir baie van die families in Constance, they grew up doing flowers. Because whenever you speak about or speak to people about Constance, dan sal jy sê van die mense wat die blomme geplant het. And between the houses, they don't have fences. What they had was flowers. You had acapanthus and stuff growing on the borders and that, but you could walk across to each other and that. Right? So, wat ek sal sê is, kyk, van die mense moet het moeilijker is. Because wat kyk, nou kom jy, vir die meervoud, jy is nou uitgesit daar, so, kyk, my opa, hy moet gaan met Menenburg toe, en daar was hy by sy weekspreek gewees in die Constance, wat ek aan geloop het met sy week doen so. En dan, my oma, sy was nou practically, sy was in 'n reisskool gewees. En dit was iets wat my pa nie baie van gepraat het nie, maar tot die laaste jaar voor sy dood, toen nog afsterf, toe hy 'n interview met iemand en toe hulle nog daar samen en praat, toe breek hy in. Want vir die meervoud om te dink dat sy ma was in 'n rolstoel en hulle het vir haar op 'n eerste vloer verdieping gesit. Bestaan en waar sy op ander dag op grond gewees het, hy daar so. So, het was hartseer. Het was hartseer. En ek dink baie van die families, as ek so geluister het met baie van die ou ouders wat ek van gepraat het en so, en as hulle jou vertel, sê, maar hulle was soos 'n groot gesin in die laatste. Hulle was nie almal van dieselfde gesin, maar die gesindheid was daar van hulle het mekaar gedra. En nou word julle geskei van mekaar. Met die doel is, julle sien nie eens nou mekaar, is miskien nog net as julle aan kuier en so, dan sien julle mekaar, waar julle ander dag kon geloop het na mekaar.
Dink jy daar is waar die divisions ingekom het by families met die groep app?
Ek dink so, because as ek vat van myself, daar is die helfte van my familie wat ek miskien, en vir die meervoud dat hulle opgebreek gewees het, geskei het van mekaar.
Ek het self raak net so, ek was nou net voor ons begin het, was ek gewees by my ma se dag gesolede. Ons was gou gewees daar by die familie se huis gewees. En daar kom toe mense uit, maar alles kan ek staan sê, en die oom sê vir my, weet jy, hy is jou niggie.
Yes.
En ek is like, nee, ek ken my niggie nie, because ons allemaal is gesit, like, soos hulle bly in die pap, en
Yes.
my ma bly in die lotus en wat. En so ek het sal sê, is dat, ek dink het was op purpose, om ons families versprei,
Yes.
dat ons nie 'n verhouding het saam met mekaar nie, because onthou, wat sê die familie, jy dit opbreek, dit is ook ons gemeenskap so is, ons mekaar doodmaak, maar ons nie van mekaar respect gooi nie,
Ja.
as ons was remove gewees. En so ek het sal sê, daar was nie mascara gewees nie, nou daar was nie trein mascara gewees nie, hoe het ons kontak aan ons familie was miskien nou en dan.
Yes.
So hy was, nie net ons property was gesteel van ons, maar ook ons verhouding, ons familie was gesteel.
Yes.
En dat hy is wat ook staan dat het by hierdie iets kom. Ons purpose in die lewe moet wees, ons probeer om daai verhoudings te bou met ons families. Because ons is gesit in die posisie om nie maar te depend op families. As die familie opbreek, as die pa wat help, en dan die weet, dan is dit 'n familie wat hier bly en wat ek
Yes.
gestel.
Yes.
En dan ons moet Heritage-dag vandag celebrate vir onsself 'n doel sit
Ja.
om ons families verhoudings weer te herbou.
Ja. Ja, nou, dit is die waarheid, want ek dink, vir my, ek sal sommige tye, as ek so dink aan, dan, miskien, dit is wel nog net die way hoe gangsters gevorm word. Because I think, jy word gesit in 'n area, dis 'n bietjie van Constantie, dis 'n bietjie van Willem, dis 'n bietjie van die Kaap, dis 'n bietjie van wat hier en hoe word almal daar gesit en baie van die mense ken nie mekaar nie. En is amper soort soek soort. Want hy was gewoon met jou mense.
Maar ek het sal net vir oog gee, die blommetraaste. Daai vir my is so mooi. Ek het die program gekyk, maar ons mense het ook die nickname wat van Constantia kom as die blommedraas. Baie min mense weet. Die mense wat gebly het in Constantia was mense wat grondvingers. Ek het die maattuin gemaak, my ouma tuin gemaak. Ek het sal wat was die mooi ding omtrent die tuindag storie, because ek weet julle het gekompete, julle het kompetisie gehad. Dis ek hoe was dit kompetisie nou?
Ja, kyk, as ek jou nog moet vertel die blomme storie nou, kyk nou soos ek nog gesê het, ons was nog toegelaat gewees om te gegaan het na ons blomtuine toe, hulle nog ons gehoop het en daai. En baie van my ooms, as hulle gekom het en hulle praat saam met, as hulle my vertel van hoe 'n goeie tuinmaker my oupa gewees het. My oupa was bekend gewees as Charlie King, maar hy was nou eintlik Charles de Mink. Maar hy en sy buurman, hulle twee het saam tuin gemaak en die mense sal jou altyd vertel van om Charlie King en om Zanzig. Dit was nou die twee manne gewees en sy kan nie vir hulle klaar gemaak het in tuin maak. Ne? En dan wat ek ook van gehou het as die mense as die ankels kom en hulle vertel die stories van Constantia, dan sê hulle, jou oupa, hy was die laaste huis in die pad. En hy en hom Jan het daar tuin gemaak. En dan sal hulle sê, hy was die goens van die tuin maak. Maar as jy afgeklim het by die pad, die boel van die bus af, en dis Lubekkie seisoen, dan is die hele lug gevul met die reuk. Ek moet nou bly in die stad en baie van ons kinders ken nie eintlik dit nie. En met die wat ek nog vertel van die blomme nou toe, soos ons nou gemove gewees het en toe eventually toe ons nou van die grond af heeltemal is, wat ons nou nie wil weer hê, jy moet meer plant en nie. Nou het ons blomme wat jy moes nou nog nakyk, want jy wil ons nou sê wat jy het. Kyk, ons het verloor sekere blomme, soos my oupa het 'n tipe aste gehad. En almal weet van die aste, dit was 'n groot kop aste en ons het hy heeltemal verloor, maar ons kon ons adalias gesê vir deur die flink dink van my pa. Want toe ons nou heeltemal ingekom het, vat hy die adalia bole en hy gaan om by die plaas nog in die Constantia. Kyk, hy kan nou nie meer tuin gemaak het, hy moet iets anders gedoen het. En toe hy begin te smous, groente en vrugte, hy gesmous, maar die blomme was maar nog altyd sy ding gewees op die einde van die dag. Maar nou moet hy die, kyk soos die adalias, ons is baie bekend ons adalias plant in die Constantia. En die adalias is snyboom. So wat gebeur het, die adalia bole, moet hy gaan sit het op die plaas, en dan moet hy die mense gevra het, okay, kan ek hier by jou plant, maar hy gaan self so om en kyk na die tuin en so en daar so, net so lang dat hy die bole kan syf en dan het hy vir hulle gegee iets, as het nou seisoentyd is, wanneer hy nou moet oes, dan gee hy vir hulle iets, want hy weet die bole is nou nog daar nie, en ek word nou agter gekyk, want hy kyk agter het self en hy so. En toe ons nou weer terugkom, toe kan hy nou almal sy bole gaan haal weer en terugbring. Jy verstaan?
Ja.
En blomme was die mense soos, as ek na my tannie soms luister, dan vertel sy van hoe apa, hulle het soms gaan op 'n Vrydag. Die wat nou vervoer gee, dan gaan hulle op 'n Vrydag, dan gaan hulle Kaap toe na die Blomsteen, Adelistraat. Dan slaap hulle daar amper die hele naweek, so met hulle blomme daar so en baie van hulle kom nou net terug so na wanneer alles klaar verkoop is en hy. Maar kyk, daar is nog baie mense wat nog baie lief vir hulle kyk. Daar is nog baie so hulle sal so dat hulle nou weet. Presies.
En dan het sy tyd sê daar so in die terwyl dit sal nog baie topik is die kerk daar so in Constantia en hy wat gebou is daar so. Wat is dit? Christchurch. Daai kerk is gebou deur ons voorvaders, soos ek verstaan. Ek weet hulle het gegaan op in die begin die klippe gaan uitsny, bring hulle dit af. Because ek weet soos ek verstaan met my oupa grootsie en die broer hulle almal het begin bou daar so. Vertel ons meer about van hy kerk because ek weet die mense was kwaad geweest because die ding is toe hulle uitgesit was, toe moet hulle agter in die kerk sit of hulle kon nie inkom in die kerk nie. En ek dink die feit dat die onkels het gebou het en hy het baie vir hulle geafsit.
Ja, kyk, my ma en pa is getroud in daai kerk, in die Christchurch Constantia. Maar my pa, hy was oorspronklik NG. En my ma moes nou aan die Engelse kerk. Hy moes nou wat hulle noem die Engelse kerk, daar in Constantia. En ek kan nou as 'n kind, ja, nou gaan jy in die kerk en dan kyk vir jou het lyk snaaks van hier, allemaal jou mense sit in die agterkant en die wit mense sit voor. Ja, maar jy gaan ook maar en jy sit ook maar net, want jy kan maar nou met niks sien, want jy moes nou nie wat aan die because jy gaan maar nou net kyk en so kyk so staan en sien het kon hartseer gewees het vir hulle. Presies om te dink dat hulle part van die kerk gebou en hy daar so en hier. Tot op vandag toe behoort my ma nog altyd daar in die kerk en my siblings, hulle is nog allemaal daar so, my susters, my broer se een sien, hy's 'n alter boy en dan my susters se twee kinders, hulle dien ook nou nog in die kerk en daar in Constantia. En dan die begrafplaas was net agter om die draai van die kerk af so. En dan die anders nou van die NG kerk, hulle moes nou weer gekom Wynberg toe. Maar nou kom hulle ook Wynberg toe, dan het sy met die voorsiening moes ek die wit kerk daarbo en die kleurlik kerk daaronder.
Was dieselfde Here.
Presies.
Akitsali, so net die oog wat as toe dinge wat ek van Akitsali wil vra. Ek weet Akitsali is die expert in die is eerstens as die sokkerklub wat begin was, né? En dan die langarm. Maar ons kom die langarm.
Okay. Laat ek jou vertel, toe hulle nou gemove is, moes nou Paarl toe. Toe het my pa besluit, hy gaan die sokkerklub maak in Paarl toe, om hulle te nog altyd so by mekaar te hou, moes nou in die Constantia. En so, in 1971, bestig hy die sokkerklub Park Swallows. En hulle bestaan nou nog. Hulle was so pas 50 verlede jaar gewees. En met die sokkerklub het nou gekom en dan die veld, kyk ons het gebly in Womerel. Dit was die eerste pad as jy nou van Prince George Drive kom en jy draai nou in Paarl, dan kry jy mos nou Womerel. Nou die veld, die sokkerveld was net ook aan die huise. En die sokkerveld tussen Prince George Drive en Womerel. Daai veld was genoem gewees die desert. En dit was nou Park Swallows se home ground gewees, waar hulle gespeel het en daai. En kyk, daar so foto's waar die kinders, dan sit hulle so, kyk daai tyd, wat gebeur met die 3 stories. Dit moes die dubbelverdieping en dan moes die 3 stories hê. Nou die 3 stories het daar buite kan gehad, waar hulle die vullisblikke gesit. Nou, dan was ons nou lekker hier, dit was nou amper soos 'n stadion. Dan die kinders moes nou daar opgeklim en hulle kyk sokke daar vandaan af en so. Anders het gesit op die space en kyk nou so. En dit was sy manier om sy mense nou nog by mekaar te hou en so aan. En kyk, met die Park Swallows, daar is seker nie 'n familie se kind wat nie gespeel het vir Park Swallows in die park nie. En dan wat hulle gedoen het as fondsinsameling, dit was nou eintlik die danse wat hulle gegee het. En daai mense was baie lief vir hulle langer. Baie lief vir hulle langer. So hulle het so 2-3 keer 'n jaar hulle miskien 'n langarm dans gee en dan het hulle gehuur wat hulle genoem het destyds moes nou die Parkwood Community Center. Hier hulle daai en dan gee hulle langarm daar. Agterna het dit te klein geword vir die spectators wat gekom het na die langarm danse. En kyk jy my ma en pa kon ek en my broer nou vandag langarm, want ons het geleer. En ek veronderstel baie van die families se kinders het geleer om te langarm. Want dit was die inbring gewees daai tyd.
Dat aantal daai moet terugkom, because deesdae het die gentleman nie meer om vir jou te hou. Hou en te klou.
Ja.
So miskien moet ons weer die langarm terugbring. Respek en dissipline.
Presies, because at least met jou partner in your space.
Ja.
Maar nou deesdae is alles moes uit die space uit en daai en dan presies.
Ons doen te sien as temporary location. Temporary location. Just like an okay.
But Katsali also on the topic of van tightness.
Yes.
Ik heb een family tree wat ik begin te.
Okay.
Nou gaat die family tree, nou, ik denk dat ik het zelf met jou gepraat heb. Nou sien ek, maar die is my Anthony, dis my ma's, dis my oma's, sy sister, dis my opa's broer en die, you know. Dat het baie goed gebeur. En dan staan sy, because as jy die family tree kyk, die family tree bly net hier so in die onkel. Wat is met bly? Dit was eintlik die onkel.
Hy was ook familie. Hy was ook familie.
Ja, was die ander ding wat Katsali was, dat ons, daar is baie hidden stories daar. Ek sê mense vir baie, ek lees ons met Katsali.
Ja, kyk, as iets wat met die mense nie wil oor praat nie. Nou, ek het die oom gegeet, as hy met my ma se oom, om Johnny, wat is Johnny se van nou gewees, Bouwman. Dan kom ons Johnny, dan vertel hom Johnny van my, nou sê ons Johnny, weet jy wat, ons is eindelijk allemaal milies. Milies, hy sê ja, ons is maar milie van mekaar. Want die ou mense, hulle dinge wat die mas, dan die hulle alles onder die kompetensie en so aan. En dit is wat baie mense nie wil weet nie, maar dan as jy hoor, dan sal jy hoor, kyk soos eendag, toe ontmoet ek die meisiekind. Right?
En was Michelle? Het was Michelle.
Ek ontmoet die meisie en nou bring ek haar huis toe. Maar nou begin my ma te gesels saam met haar en daai en daai. Maar so kom het nooit met my ma nou somehow vir haar vra nou wees jou ma, jou pa en daai. En toe sê hulle maar dis my niggie. En ek dink ek het nou nie eintlik geweet. Want ek ons het nog met ons en dit is waar inkom soos van die begin van waar hy geskei gewees het van mekaar en so in die familie moes nou uitgedrus en dan agterna sal jy nou uitvind. Dit is wel moeilik.
Ek dink vir die attraction is liefde.
Ja, wat ander.
Ek moet wat smaak kyk.
Ja.
Ankel, na jy teruggekom het, hoe het jy besigheid weer begin?
Okay. Nou soos ek gesê het, toe my pa moes nou die Adalia bole. Nou kyk ons het nou nog van dieselfde Adalia bole van die 60er jare wat hulle nou gehad in die familie. Dan toe kom het so, hy kry toe 'n week by die Altyd Farm School. Nou die Altyd Farm School het behoort aan Andre Badenlos. Dis 'n boer aan Constantia. En ek meen nou net hoe ironies is dit dat sy pa was verantwoordelik vir die uitsit van die mense, van die bruin mense in die Constantia. Almal het hom geken as Oubaas en hulle het Oubaas het nie nonsens gevat nie. Maar in elk geval, nou André het saam met my pa groot geword. My pa het altyd vertel hoe hy en André saam gespeel het en Freddy André se broer en hy daarso. Toe het André die Oudtshoorn Farm School aan Constantia wat hulle genoem het. Dit was nou eintlik die naam voor die Oudtshoorn Farm School was Loppie se winkel. Loppie se winkel. Toe het André nou die farm school oorgevat. En my pa, hy het geleer, hy is mos dan 6 uit die skool. Maar hy en sy 2 broers, hulle was al 3 qualified blockmakers. En hulle het gewerk in die butcheries, in vir Pick n Pay en so, en okay, toe was er nog okay bazaar so. En wat ek nou wil sê, toe approach André my pa om die butcher te ran by die Oudtshoorn Farm School. En hy was toe André se blokman in die butchery. En André het net agter die farm school het hy grond gehad wat die arbeider geplant. En dan nog 'n ding dat sien dat ons nog praat van die arbeider. Die baie het vertel van hoe Strawberry Lane sy naam gekry het. Dit was practically deur my groot ouma Susan Williams wat arbeider geplant het in die patement toe hulle hom sommer Strawberry Lane. Maar in elk geval André het toe arbeider geplant op die stuk grond en toe wou hy nou nie meer en hy het nou net die farm so ran en toe vra hy met pa nou agter hy nou weg is daar van en hy butchery het hy nou toegemaak en so of my pa miskien wil gebruik maak van die grond om te plant. En dat sê my pa kom ja, so die grond geweet, want as ons nou met green belt. En so het hy nou gekom dat blomme plant en daai en as jy nou vandag daar kom, as jy nou sien daar so ons gunsteling is altyd die Adalias. Want ek geglo in om die Adalias te doen en ons dan die Adalias kan jy mos nou oes amper 4 tot 5 maande van die jaar. En so ons nou terug daar so op die grond daar so wat hy nou eventually op 'n lease, op 'n farm lease gegee het aan my pa. En so het ons nou begin te blomme plant daar. Dat ons het nou tot vandag toe doen. En kyk, op die stuk grond is ons nou heilig 38 jaar. Yes,
Na jy terug is.
met blomme.
Ja, okay. So ek was gesê jy word bekend, of julle is bekend aan die Jefter
Ja,
blom, wat is dit? Is hy die Adalia?
dat is nog Dalias.
En waar kan 'n mens julle blomme koop?
Kijk, jy kan vandag nog altyd kom en as jy nou wil kom tot daar wat ons is, dan al wat jy nou insit. Kijk, want nou, die farmstoel is nou 'n restaurant. Het word nou genoem Peddlers on the Way. So ons is nou net agter Peddlers. En daar is ons nou besig om altyd blomme te plant. En ons het 'n groot verskeidenheid van blomme wat ons doen daar. So ons doen baie seisoenblomme. Want kyk, ons wil nie wegbreek van die tradisie van ons voorvaders, die almal het blomme geplant in seisoen. Ja,
Wat sê 'n blom van 'n persoon?
en sê baie. Soos my pa, hy was nog
Soos wat ek iets bedoel.
ja, my pa was baie lief jou as jy moet vra sê dat ek sê Adalias.
Wat sê Adalias?
Is die mooiheid van die blom. Kyk, nou, net voor my pa dood is, was een van die mense wat hy goed mee bevriend gewees het as die begrawe en hy het nog van die blomme geskenk en nou kom jy by begrafplaas, daar steel ons nog die blomme van die begrafplaas. Ja. Toe sit hulle blomme op die vrou se graf daar en hulle begin nou die blomme toe te gooi nou sand oor die blomme. Toe spreek hy vir hulle aan daaroor, toe wil hy nou sê, hoekom wil julle dan nou 'n blom wat God so mooi geskep het, gemaak het en hy wil hulle nou toegooi met sand, net omdat by ander mense dit moet wat nie. Sny dit maar net kort af en sit daarop. Want ek meen, baie mense sal kom daar by ons en sal hulle sê, ja, julle het die beste kantoor in die land, om in te weet, waar in te weet, buite te weet met die blomme.
Kan ons maar net vir die mense die mind op radio. Ons is hier met Uncle Charlie Jeffter. So they are family growers, flower growers from the Constantia, and they started there actually before the Group Areas Act, and then after many years they returned back and now are back to 38 years flowers, and also known for their flower business. Nee? So
Uncle Charlie, ek gaan nou Uncle Charlie gee, die blomme besigheid, ek verstaan as issues in die Kaap en so, dat het eintlik 'n impact op die blomme besigheid, because as dit sê van 'n struggle met die city en met die mense, affect daai ook van Uncle Charlie?
Nogal, want kyk, baie van die mense het kom haal blomme op by ons of verkoop daar, so al die adalies, waarvoor ons bekend is. En oral waar hulle besig is om die blomdraers te onderskryf, en hy het dit 'n ripple effect. Dit 'n ripple effect. Maar dan ons het nog baie kliënte in ons area wat ons ondersteun, en hy van hulle verkies nog altyd om te kom koop, daar so by ons en so. En is tragies, want ander dag, as jy kyk op die een foto wat ek jou daar gebring, sê, die blommestel, as jy hom gekyk het, dis nog 'n foto van in die 60er jare, jy sien die hele area is vol blomme. Nou, met die afstorting in die Kaap, en as jy net sekere gedeelte, as jy net die voorste gedeelte meestal wat nou, aan die agter is nou toe, en jy kan nou nie meer teen nie, en so. En ek meen, as jy kyk op die mense se livelihood, sal ek sê. En kyk waar ons heiliglik is, die ander ding wat ek jou sê, ons het 'n groot pruimboom, die ons huis gee, in die Constantia, en dan van die pruimboom, met aan stokke gesny, en dit was nou omtrent 35 jaar terug, het hy stokke gesny van die boom, en hy het inkom terug daar, wat ons heiliglik is. En heiliglik op die grond, het ons seker amper 25 pruimbome. En dit is allemaal kattings van die oorspronklike boom, wat daar langs die huis gewees het. En toe het ons nog weer, toe het so 10 geplant eerst, toe maak hy nog weer kattings van die plant nog weer iets anders. En soos ek sê, ons het vrugte in seisoen gegee, en hy het nog probeer om so van die goedes terug te plant daar. Ons het die pruime, dan het ons die vye. Ons het gegee, soos hy nog vir my vertel het destijds, het ons 7 verskillende vye gegee, agter ons jaar. Ek kan nou van die verskillende vye wat daar is. En heiliglik ons is, het ons omtrent weer so 5 van die vye, ons vermis nog 2. Wat ons nog nie nog daar op die grond het nie, is nog die striepvye, en dan die swart vye nou, en die daar so. Maar so het hy maar probeer om al die goedjes weer terug te sit, dan het ons 'n appelboom, ons het 'n avocado-peerbome, ons het custard-appel, en ons het die appelriefies, en allemaal die vruchten probeer hulle wat ons daar, sodat jy dan ook kan eet 'n bietjie van vruchten, guavas.
Hoe connect is die generations van wat ons nou sien is, daar's baie initiatives vir starting your own garden type of thing.
Yes.
Hulle nou die kinders wil terugbring, because as die kinders nou aan die grond vat, dan sê like, my hands is dit type of thing. Hoe connect is ons generation, because wat gebeur na julle weg is? Word daar nog generations geleer sodat die kan aangaan? Hoe connect is daar oud en jong? Because baie van ons is as different van die
Ja, Ja, kijk, zus. Kijk, laat ik jullie met jou dat. Want eendag te vragen met pa. Ik vraag me die rond de gitar aan met toen zei ik ja, want die campagne. Je ziet niet, dat is niet de dingen wat ik ken niet meer zien daar. En kijk, nou, wat ik wil zeggen is, oorspronkelijke vruchten daar, zodat die kinders komen en dan kijk, sekere tyd van die jaar, dan is die vruchten nog niet te veel en ons kan nie aanbied. Dan laat ons die kinders kom en pluk van die vruchten daar so en daar. Op jou vraag, is dit nou, eindiglik is dit nou met broers se seun, wat nou 'n bietjie oplei in die blomme en dan my een seun, hy kom so af en toe uit jou daarso, wat hom nou 'n bietjie belangstel daar en dan my suster se seun, hy wil nou eintlik gaan studie agriculture. Which kan ook nou 'n bietjie van my help wees en daai en ek meen the best knowledge is normally the knowledge carried over. Nie wat jy eintlik leer in 'n handboek.
Because
Sal ek sê, dit is ook ons geleer.
ek kan daai leer uit ons storie uit van die pruim, die
Yes.
prune tree.
Yes.
Is like jou oupa het dit gevang.
Yes.
Kyk, en now
Precies.
is another legacy
Ja.
Yes.
of it.
Ja, en ek dink dit is die way forward vir ons kinders kan leer. Kyk, jy kom nou dat mense, dan sê hulle vir jou, okay, die handboek sê so. Maar nou dink jy die handboek sê, right? Maar ek sal jou sê, maar my oupa het nie so gedoen. My oupa het in die way gedoen. So, en kyk, syne weet dat nog altyd. You understand? So, kyk, daar is sekere goedes wat die handboek mense kan leer en daai daar, so maar die beste knowledge is maar wat oorgedra word van familie tot familie tot familie. En dis hoekom ek nog kan sê, ek kan trots wees daarop, dat ek en my broer, ons is nou 5de generasie. En kyk, ons het geleer, ons het wel van my pa, maar ek kan onthou dinge hoe my oupa het nog gedoen het. En dit is wat ek toepas tot nou toe, tot vandag toe, die way hoe hy gedoen het. Kijk, vir hom was het so gewees. Sy moet nou, sy moet elke jaar gewoon bewerk en so en die. So, how do you keep the ground fresh to get it going? So het ons geleer, wat hulle noem, loopings. Ek weet nie, is so geel om wat nog goed is, wat ons nou geel en blauw daar so. Nou, hy het geleerd, hy vang die saad op, strooi het in jou grond en laat uitkom en weekom terug in die grond toe. En in sy afseisoen van blomme het hy bone geplant. Hy het groenbone en suikerbone geplant en aardappels geplant en dit is wat jy terugweek in die grond te put en dit is back into the ground. Sodat jy weer kan reageer vir die volgende seisoen. Maar wat ons ook doen nou op die woord is, ons week op die 7 jaar periode. Jy laat 'n stuk grond dan, dis vir 'n jaar, weet jy die ander 6. Dan die volgende jaar wat jy anders doen, dan weet jy die ander 6. So, en so kry jy alles grond se jaar van rus.
And that's important because die grond moet weer soort of recover.
Yes.
Sodat jy weer kan ploeg of kan miskien saai of so.
Ja. Want kyk, jy kry baie siektes in die grond en so.
Ja.
So jy moet kyk agter die grond. En op die einde van die dag is die grond waar jou lewensbaarheid van gemaak is.
Okay, ons kom tot by die einde van ons sessie. Wat ek nou uitgeleer het, uit julle nou dink aan blomme, maar wat ek geleer het is dat na jouself, moet jy vir jouself net 'n rustige
Presies.
uit jouself uit. As daar niks aangaan nie, dan kan daar niks uit jou uitbou nie.
Dis hoekom jy die 7-day period. You work for 6, you reach for 1. You see, so it's dieselfde principle as 'n mens dink aan hoe dit toepaslik is in die alledaagse lewe.
Definitief, en net soos Anko nog gepraat het, kan ek ook gehoor het, different goed wat ek vir myself kan vat van my familie,
Yes.
grond en hoe jy dinge doen. Jy kan baie leer uit die tuin uit.
Presies.
Wat ons sien, en dan as baie hoe ons familiestructures gebroken is as gevolg van goede wat ons doen nie.
Yes.
En like soos die knowledge, julle het knowledge aangegee van oupa grootjie af het moet nou nog ander sê en
Ja.
baie keer in ons familie ons share nie daai knowledge nie en dit gaan dood.
Ja.
Dit gaan
Precies.
dood langs die kant. So there is a lesson that I've learned from
Ja.
this.
Ja.
En kyk as 'n kind, jy kan onthou hoe ons hier uitgehaal het. Sonder proteksie. Dan steek jy by jou en ek meen, kyk nou, die ander ding wat ek nou eintlik wil sê, dit is ons moet nou sonder die baie sal ons nie kan survive. Sal ons nie kan survive. Ons het nie baie nodig vir cross-pollination. It doesn't matter whether you do bees or whether you do flowers. You need the bees.
Ek voel hy's 'n preaching.
You need the bees.
You need the bees.
You need the bees, honey.
Ja, ja.
Uncle Charlie, ons wil vir u baie dankie sê dat u ingekom het. Ons gaan vir julle almal die foto's vat met Uncle Charlie.
Ja, ja.
Gebring het want jy sê julle vraag die hele tafel hier voor.
Ja. Maar ook, ons gaan niks maand gaan ons broodgas vir Uncle Charlie se plek.
Ja, want ek wil
Ja,
dit gaan.
dit sal lekker daar so maak en dan kan ons gesels en dan kan ek sien hoe dit lyk.
Want hulle wil sien.
Okay.
Uncle Charlie, ek was net laas week was ek by Janasa gewees in Constantia in.
Okay.
En die uncle het in Notus gebly. But they are all fighting for the property to go back. They never could go back. But sy remains lê nou daar. En ek was anders met my, maar daar's baie van ons mense wat beklei om terug te gaan.
Yes.
En dan Uncle Charlie is van die mense wat nou at least die 'n glimpse kan kry. Hoe voel jy net om af te hoe voel dit weer om terug te wees waar ons vandaan kom?
Kyk, vir my sal ek sê, as ek nou moet dink aan, ek sou nooit kon gedink het dat kyk, eventually het ek my eie gang gegaan.
Ja.
Maar nou omtrent so 8 jaar terug toe kom ek terug om my pa te help, my broer te help, nou amper 12 jaar terug toe kom hy terug. Ja, so. En ek meen, ek het skoolkinders gery, agter ek nou my werk verloor, ek het gewerk vir Lightbodies clothing school. En toe ek nou daarvandaan weg is, dus ek nou so na werk en toe begin ek ook maar nou goedes te verkoop en so aan. En eventually toe en ek op reisskoolkinders.
Ja.
En nou sê ek terug daar en ek sal sê, om skoolkinders te ry, is baie stresvol. En om blomme te werk is nou
As lekker.
is kalmerend.
Ja.
En ek meen, ek het baie geleer. En ek kon baie onthou van wat ek geleer het van my oupa. My oupa het altyd gesê, you present the flower to the customer. Sy sit hom nie daar nie, doen daar so.
Ja.
En yes. En as ek nou moet terugbring, as ek maar dink 'n bietjie van besigheid is maar seker maar in my bloed en is van nog van die familie af en so aan. Want ek kan nou as klein kind nou aan die park nou te gekom. Ek het nou sokker gehad speel die oggend. Dan kom ek die middag terug van die sokkerland. Nou papa het gesit en gekoop die vrugte en die blomme daarso en nou is hulle oop. En dan is dit nou my so ek vat nou so maar daai en dan gaan hy nou om by die huis en verkoop dit nou en so. Ja. So en ek het nou nog my oupa se naam ook nog. Ja, maar soos ek sê, ons kan baie leer. In die blomme, daar's altyd iets nuuts om te leer.
Uncle, soos ons afeindig, baie mense wil net weet wat is Uncle se besigheidsnaam en waar kan hulle vir Uncle kry?
Ons gaan onder die Jefte Flower Farm.
Jefte Flower Farm.
Ja, en as jy, soos ek sê, as jy nou op Google of op Google Maps, dan moet jy insit Peddlers on the Bean restaurant. Ons is net agter Peddlers.
Peddlers on the Bean.
Ja, daar's al 'n boot wie op die hoek by Peddlers op jou aan te ry. Jefte Flower Farm.
En julle verkoop nog nie online of so blomme.
Nee, ons is maar nog
Julle hou van hy personal touch, ons like that. Okay. So ons wil net van my kant wil ek dankie sê. Vir u tyd dat u saam met ons kom deurbring het. Ek het baie geleer. As ek gaan sê as 'n jong persoon, baie geleer op Constantia vandag en blomme. Jy
Ja.
kan ook nou sien hoe ons hoe die twee lede bymekaar kom as gevolg van like, alles met ons te doen as 'n kultuur onsself
Yes.
blomme wie
Yes.
funeral
Yes.
by your wedding you blomme op 'n punt wees en now you can see that kind of connection with it. So dankie vir die lessons wat jy vandag vir ons kom leer. Welkom by vandag. En dankie vir die tyd weer eens.
Dis 'n
Dan
plesier.
ek het sê ek dink Heritage Day is ons heritage deel.
Ja.
Ons vergiet van die dinge. Ons so mense gaan dood met die knowledge.
Yes.
So ek dink die next move is om die documentary te maak. Kry die information, hou dit daarby dink because ons word sien net vroeër gesê sien as die volgende generation.
Yes.
Sy het gesê dat mense was op grond afgevat gewees en dit is baie dinge wat
Yes.
maar ek dink ons het 'n culture. Ons het 'n afkom, ons kom van eers af. Ons is nie hier gegooi nie. And I think we need to tell that to the people because ons verhoort in 'n plek wat hulle nou lê was ons
Was
plek.
ons.
En ons is nie kwaad nie, but we just need to remind ourselves where
Yes.
we come from. I think we are powerful people. En ek dink dat ons mense moet nie skaam wees nie. Ons moet claim wat ons eie
Wat
is.
ons.
Baie dankie aan Ketsali, ek probeer dit. Ons kom volgende maand kom ons Constantia toe. Ja, ons kom Constantia toe.
Ja, dis welkom. Dis welkom.
Maar as jy nog meer
Ja, kyk, en net soos jy nou sê, daar is nog hy gap wat nog moet gevul word. Daar is seker ook goed is wat nie nog nie daar is
Ja,
nie.
ja. Ketsali, thank you so much, Jennifer. Thank you so
Yeah,
much.
we just want to tell those on the radio, our next interview will be with Simone Thomas. We will be talking about hair and heritage. So catch us in the next 10 minutes. We will be talking to Simone. Okay? Simone.
No? Can we go live? Because we almost now.
No,
You,
but I want to check if she is okay and you can hear me.
yeah, we have to do it like this one. Yeah. This
Hi,
one.
Simone. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Just go to the mic. Sound.
No. Okay, we'll go live now. Hi, good morning. Can you hear me?
Right, we can. Yeah, we just want to put up our music quickly. Once that is once there we go. Can you hear us?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Hi, hi, Simone.
Hello, good morning.
Okay. So today, or just a quick, just show a hi, Simone, to everyone.
Hello, good morning.
Okay, so I just want to take a moment to do Simone's bio quickly before we start. We're just putting on connecting to the radio right now. Apologies for that.
Just take that off, no? Simone, just give us 1 second. We do apologize.
Apologies for the technical difficulties. It seems it's one of those days.
Okay. We were on. Just 1 second for me.
Hi, good day. We won't be doing the interview on radio right now. I think we'll add the link later as a podcast. Not because Simone is baie important mense. Ja, dat Simone is sy's hapa in Germany so mense se kante. So ons kan nie altyd mos nie. Laat ons net daar begin. Okay, so Simone, let me just introduce you quickly. Let's do it properly. Simone Thomas is an experienced marketing lecturer from Cape Flats and holds a master's. So vandaag, het is de kamer vol masters gehad. Dus we had Zine at 9 o'clock. Nou, dis vir Simone. Ek weet nie as die Here is wat sy ons praat en sê ons moet gaan vir ons masters sien. Maar iets is besig om te gebeur hierso. Right? So she holds a master's marketing degree. Her focus and research was on consumer behavior for Black women wearing natural hair in Cape Town, South Africa. She's currently completing a doctorate. Okay, so sy is nou, vergeet nie masters mense, ons is by daar. A doctorate of commerce in marketing and focus on consumer marketplace discrimination in brand management through Cape Peninsula University of Technology while working as a research assistant in Germany. In May this year, 2022, Simone presented her first international conference paper at the 15th annual Global Brand Conference in UK. So, yeah, ek sê vir julle, baie important. She also is a founding owner of Cruise Rocks, yeah, an apparel and cultural education brand established in 2016. She's a speaker and advocate
or advocate for natural hair, and she's also on a mission to ensure that no woman is ever told to fix her hair. Oh, die topic is so nou, maar net hy laaste stukkie oor jare stukkie. Okay, so Simone, kroeshaar, ons gaan dit so sê, né? Kroeshare. Ag, kroeshaar klink nie reg. Kroeshare has become like the new trend of the day, basically. So why and when have this become such an acceptable trend in today's society?
Well, good morning, everyone. Firstly, thank you so much for having me and for the invitation to everyone at Cape Flat Stories. Thank you so much. And also a happy Heritage Day. It's horrible being so far from home on days like today. So that's why I'm wearing my African beads and bangles and put some extra time in to let my afro flourish today. So I think it has a lot to do with media. I think sometimes we underestimate the power that media holds. And I think also that there's a poem by, I think it's Marianne, that she says that our deepest fear. And in that poem, there's a part that she says that as we are liberated, we automatically liberate others because now they see you are liberated, and so automatically they feel like I can also be liberated. And I think that's, if we can take that inference from there. And once you've seen someone on the TV and someone on a magazine cover also wearing their, then you automatically feel, but I can also do this. I can also do this, you know? And I think that it's not a trend that's far beyond a trend at this moment in time. It is a movement because a lot of people thought that, it's going to come in and it's going to go out like a fad, but it's not a fad. It is a movement and it's here to stay, simply because people have taken note. Companies have taken note. Organizations, institutions, the government has started taking note, and that's why it's a movement. And one of the reasons is because of institutional and the institutions in our society has taken note of it and said, but actually, let's change this.
Does he really tell you that much about your heritage? And what does it tell other cultures or other people if you do not accept your hair?
So again, your head says a lot about your heritage. I was just actually reading on the news yesterday about this young 22-year-old girl in Iran that was killed because of the morality belief police, as they call it. But the women in that region and all over Iran at this moment in time, what they are doing is they are cutting off their hair in protest of this very strict patriarchal systems that are in place in their country, and they are burning their scarves. So cutting their hair is
Yeah.
almost like a rebellion against that, and because hair holds so much value and so much richness and wealth and meaning. If we look back in just going back in our own history, if you just take from the African slaves that were moved by ships, and the first thing that they did when they got to the western parts of our world, the first thing that they did was cut off their hair. Women, men, all alike, their hair was shaven off, and this was part of almost to dehumanize them. It was almost a symbolic of cutting off everything that represented you from your cultural heritage. And they had to shave off their hair, and they had to leave everything that was even remotely related to Africa. They had to cut off and leave immediately. If we look at our heritage, just as the African people, as South African people, if we go back to the pencil test, that your hair defined whether or not you had status. The pencil test was put in your head to kind of say, okay, you are white and you are non-white. And because of that racial classification, this is what you have status and this is your type of life that you will live in apartheid regime. And unfortunately, still until today, we still carry some of those nuances. And as much as, and we are what, 25 years plus in a democratic country, and those nuances are still living in our society today because we still deem certain things as more important, and we still have certain standards that we want to achieve, you know. En baie mense sal sê, o nee, jy bly mos in die wit area, jy shopping daar wat die wit mense shopping, en jy het mos daai wit mense se technology, ek verstaan nou nie, you know, so it's still part of us, you know. And this is why we can say, when other cultures now, if I look at just this case with this young girl that was murdered, 22 years old in Iran, and the women in that region, they are cutting off their hair. The same and in Islam, we know that, you know, as a married woman, your hair is not supposed to be seen to the public eye. In earlier primitive African, still in parts of Africa, still, your hair symbolized whether you were married, whether you were single, whether you were ready to get married. Your hair symbolized your status in society. So yes, it goes without saying that our hair, there's so much detail and heritage in tapped into our curls and our coils and our kinks, and each part of it tells a story.
With relation to the lady that's killed in Iran, I don't know how many people know about it. I actually just read up on it yesterday, also on Facebook that I saw, and for me immediately it like almost did that. Oh, ek sal het nooit doen nie, because like your hair is so like as that thing. Just as a woman, you tend to put so much effort and detail and thought into what the style gaan it next wees, because it must match your clothes, maybe what era you're going into. If I'm my 30s, okay, it's no bietjie die kant te wees and not long because it's my face and all of this. And for them to kind of demonstrate their anger through doing that. I like the fact that I read up on it last night, that it kind of linked to this conversation that we're doing today. Hey, and how, the importance and the type of a message we send through it. As baie man sal sê, kom maar sê, okay, as jy nog newly single is, dan sê jare mas los en is 10 en hoe meer getrouwd je is, die kant toe raak het in een band soos myne. En hulle vir jare los nie. So it says a lot about you, your hair. But oftentimes we don't see it as that. Why did you go into this kind of study about hair?
The main thing was that there wasn't any information about us. There was a lack, a scarcity. Academically, I'm not supposed to say that there wasn't any. So I will use academic terms and say that there was a lack, there was a scarcity about information about our hair. Not a lot of literature. And in my search for literature, I found that there was a bigger problem, actually, that there was a scarcity about colored people of Cape Town and in different parts of the world. So in the western part of the world where I'm now at, you can't just say colored people. There was a governmental role position. This guy was actually fired for using the term colored people. And you have to say, politically correct, you have to say a person of color, right? So, but for me, coming from Cape Town, ek is a colored vrou. Ek is a bruin vrou, I'm a colored person. So, language has lots of layers, language has lots of meaning, language has so much depth, right? So what I found was in this research that I've done, besides that there was just a scarcity and a lack of information and literature on black hair in South Africa, there was a scarcity of information about us as a people. And I came and I got to a book by Dr. Ruben Richards, and he speaks about the untold stories of colored people. And he's got a very provocative headline for his book. He's got 2 volumes out. And it's a very provocative title of his book. It's called Bastards or Humans? what is the untold stories of colored people in South Africa. And in this book, he found that, and part of his study that he did was that there was something like 400 years of literature that was systematically and strategically was taken out of the history books of us, our people as colored people. Let me use the word strategically. They, with strategy, intention, they removed our history, letters that were written, books, correspondence about colored people. And so we always believed in, I was taught in history in primary school that the colored people were a product of rape because the European Dutch people came to South Africa and Cape Town, and then the black women, the indigenous black women were raped, and that's where colored people came from. And it's a very sensitive topic, and the more you read that book and the more you delve into it, it becomes more and more emotional because now you're unpacking all these layers and you realize that we were actually told a lie that we colored people are not the product of rape. We are not the product of rape. And so this has gone through history because now we believe no one wants to be a product of rape. And because that was the story that was told to us, we automatically believe that we were the unwanted people. Now it becomes a little, you have to kind of take it with a lot of sensitivity and you have to digest a lot. But, there was a quote even about that, from F.W. de Klerk. His wife said that we were almost the unwanted, the unwanted people of our time and our country. And that we were just this product of rape, and no one wants that. And so we believe that everything about ourselves is second class, unwanted, and that filtered through to our hair. And this is one of the reasons why I did it, because there wasn't any information on black hair, on colored people's hair. Yet we make up such a large portion of Cape Town, such a large portion of the Western Cape and Africa and South Africa as a whole. And that is why I delved into it. And the more I delved into it, the more I realized that it's such a deep psychological thing, but it has a lot of politics into it. It's got a lot of racial domination in and oppression layered in there. And there was actually some research about 2015 that found that the only products, and 2015 is about 7 years ago, right? That the only products that you could find walking down an aisle in any store, in any supermarket, only products that were targeted at us, the ethnic market. And I use that as ethnic market because what is the ethnic market even? That the only products that was on the shelves were products directed to us to alter our hair. So jy het net jou dark and lovely gekry, jy het net jou relaxers gekry en jou sheen straightener. That was it. It wasn't to moisturize our hair, it wasn't to look after our hair. The only products targeted at us strategically was for us to change our hair. And that's the reason why I did it.
I like this part because while I was thinking about this interview that I needed to do, I was like, I remember back when when we used to go swim. Nou die jare like asof hulle gehoorsaam is vandag. My onne en daar gaan baie goede aan, right? So I remember with swimming, you almost didn't want to go swim because the images that you saw on videos and that is waar jy meisie uit die pool uitkom en dan slat haar hare af, meisie, en die water tap af, regten toe. En die hare is like perfect, man. It's val mooi. Nou, maar as ons daar doen, onder water, diep onder water swem, en het go op. Het gaan mooi af. Maar as het opkom, as het like 'n helmet is, protect jou kop. And you didn't want to
You didn't
and you don't want to die. I know. So you just like basically like say swim boo because you hare moet nie net wees nie. And if you did that,
the first thing you would do, ek kan nou nou albei lindig is wat. As jy uitkom, sy swem lekker, want sy sê nou oudjies so sy wil gou vir jou mooi wys. Swem lekker, klim uit, hy loop sy straight badkamer toe met jou conditioner, want sy kan plak na. Because people can't see what is going on here. And so if you're now talking about your history and the hair and how it has been related to almost like a raped community, um, it says a lot about people always tell you that you are special and that you are beautiful, but and you must kind of walk in that destiny, but on the other parts everything about you is hidden. Like you say, there's no information about us. Zena said the exact same thing. A lot of information and heritage, there is nothing books about us. And so how can you act a certain way? How can you act like a princess or a queen if no one has ever thought of you that way, or led by example that way? You must lead as a queen and a princess, but hulle hoef jou agter haar al die skorrel was. Dis mos nou nie reg nie. So I like this kind of topic of the heritage of hair. So what in a sense of trauma, can we heal that trauma? A trauma?
I definitely say yes, and that's why I run the organization. I see it as an organization. It initially started out as a brand, but it is an organization now. And that's why I do Cruise Rocks. And that's why it's such a labor of love, and it takes up a lot of time, a lot of money, a lot of resources. But that's why I will continue to do Cruise Rocks, to heal that hate trauma in our communities. I think what we also need to remember is that when the slave owners came here from the western parts of the world, we need to remember that there was already an economy. The indigenous people, Khoi, San, all of those people, right? They were indigenous people, our people, the Nama, they were indigenous to, especially to Cape Town, especially that area where the castle is, that they were indigenous people already. So our people had an economy. I like this quote by someone, I can't remember who it was. That is, slavery is not part of our history. Slavery actually interrupted our history as people from South Africa and the Western Cape and the Cape Town region. That interrupted our region because we had an economy, we had a way of life, and then they came and then they disrupted it and took so much of it. And that changed the trajectory of our story, and that's why we have to heal. What I found, one way that we can heal, and I think if Black women, colored women come into a room and we start talking about hair and growing up, and then I can just mention one thing, and then we can talk for a couple of hours about this thing about relaxers and how our scalp burned and how it had to be done every 3 months or every month, and how you would sit with that scalp burns and the scab, and we can all talk about it. And on a Saturday morning, direction at Wiala and a sheen because Mora's cake, and over Christmas time, and a Sunday school anniversary time, Wiala and sheen. So that is all trauma, and it really, really, one of the highlights of my research pointed out that, as cliche as this might sound, and as I think we are very we have almost become desensitized by this, but it starts at home. The hair trauma, because the trauma, as we are as grown women now, we carried from our childhood days. Daai relaxer, and die ding wat ons altyd, when I was growing up, suffer for beauty. So jy moet suffer for beauty because jy het nie style hare nie. Jy moet suffer for beauty. And then being teased because at a certain point in time, dan kom die relaxer mos nou uit, dan kom die ware kinders mos nou hier agter uit, en jy by die styles, en jy kan maar hier so en blou en die rolle dan gebruik, hier in die middel, dan kom die ware mos nou uit, And then you get teased at school and almost to a sense of bullied because sy het dan nou jou hair is aan 'n kroes. Then you get teased and almost low-key bullied. And I remember in primary school, I had to say that, nee, ek relax my hair nie. My hair is naturally so. Nee, ek relax my hair nie. Because you didn't want to get bullied. You didn't want to be teased. So we sit with that. And this is the one thing, and this is where the mission of Krusraks is, because we are often told, all of my respondents in my research said that they were told at home, fix your hair. Wanneer gaan jy nou iets aan jou hare doen? I had one of the respondents, she was in her 40s, she was married in her own house already, en haar ma het hom altyd vir haar gesê, sy het eendag na 'n interview toe gegaan toe vra maar, gaan jy met die kop na die interview toe?
Yeah.
Oh, you can't. The one respondent told me that she had to go to her sister's wedding, and her sister told her, you can't come to my wedding if you're not gonna have straight hair.
Sure.
And I was like, okay. And she told her sister, well then, if that is the case, then I'm not coming to your wedding. I'm going to come to your wedding with my curly hair. So that is how we will have to do it. So for me, if your sister that you grew up with and everything, on this very important day that you're telling your sister you have to have straight hair, otherwise you can't come to my wedding, tells you a lot about it. It tells you a lot about how we view beauty and how we see and the value that it carries. And so we have to heal it in our homes. We have to heal it how we speak to our young girls predominantly, but also to our young boys. Because essentially, they have to grow up and get married, and they have to have a view, and they have to deal and handle women in our society. And so we have to stop telling our young girls, fix your hair. Because if you're saying that something needs fixing, you are
Broken.
also inferring that something is broken. And what you're saying is that almost like our hair is broken. That is what we grew up in. And that is the story we need to tell in our homes. Most of the respondents, 80% of my research respondents said that where they found acceptance the most, or where their natural hair was celebrated, 80% of them said at work. Their workplaces celebrated their hair because the one girl said in her workplace, her boss told her, it brings diversity and a dynamic to the team. So if we are experiencing acceptance for our natural hair in a workplace environment, which is very contrary to other parts of the world, in the US, most people are discriminated and treated with such bigotry and prejudice in the workplace because of their natural hair, that they relax their hair because of economic reasons, because they have to look a certain way for work. So we need to fix it in our homes. Mothers, dads, uncles, aunties, whoever, if you are around young children, teenagers, stop telling them to fix their hair. Stop telling us to suffer for beauty. Why should we? What is wrong is our view in society. And it's changing. I mean, we are almost 30 years in a democratic country, and we still have this notion of this European white standard of beauty. We have a lot of work to do. We've come a long way, but we have a lot of work to do. But it starts at home. It starts in those adolescent years.
While you were talking, I can remember with my grandma. So my oma la kon nog haar van die jou hare moet straight wees. So I can remember when I was like young, she used to take me to this hair clinic in Cape Town somewhere. And this hair clinic is like pins and needles that they put through your hair. It feels like it's like om jou hare straight te kry vir langer. Hy was voor die wat gebruik julle nou? Whatever.
Botox and yeah.
Voor hy en dan was daar so 'n machine ding wat jy moet ondergaan sit wat massages jou, ek dink dit massage cruise uit. Maar dit
I used to do that on a monthly basis for my
Wow.
grandma because my hare would like tinanis. So
Wow.
much so that now, if people must compliment my hair, so I've gone through many stages of hair, braids, weaves, alles. Because as soon as I get a compliment for my hair, I change it. Because the first thing my grandma would notice was, "Kyk hoe lyk jou hare?" Is he like, hallo, hoe gaan het met jou? En so nie. It's like, wat gaan met jou hare? En hy neem my hare is nou weer reg. Dan sê ek weer 'n goeie kind.
Wow.
Dan sê ek weer fit. So I have this thing about hair where it's like, okay, if I get too much of a compliment, let's change it. You
Wow.
know? Because so that the focus can be on me and not so much my
Wow.
and now just with you talking when we talk about our kids, it's the same way when we tell our kids you are naughty. You're not addressing the actions that they're doing, but you are telling them their whole self is naughty. And the same as you now just described as what when it comes to your hair, go fix your hair. So something about you is broken, type of thing. And how we change. I like the fact that our books these days are also changing because our kids are starting to see more girls like them in the book. I have a 9-year-old daughter now. That doesn't before I used to take it to the hairdressers just to have it blown out a little bit because het vat my 4 ure om deur haar hare te gaan. En Miss Rug kan dit nie hou nie. And she's like, no, but I don't want to do that anymore because the books that we have now, it shows the girl with the curly hair. She will like she now the other day she actually told me, it's fine, you can teach me how to wash my hair, I will do it myself.
Wow.
Because there's now pride in her hair. Before she wanted the curls out because it doesn't look like other kids, but now the books are starting to show more of our girls and who we are. Um, can we just quickly go into the topics of products? How has the purchase of products changed? Because ek het gehoor van Willa en Shein aan die begin. And how has it changed now when I go to the like Stanley wil nie daar obviously because dit gaan geroep. Jy moet nou 'n onion wash doen en avocado wash en as 'n eier ding. Al die vrugte en vetjies op jou kop. But how has the products changed now for our hair?
So this is a classic question that is always asked. This is why it's a movement because companies have taken note. Like I said, 10 years ago, say 2010, right? That's about 11, 12 years ago, 12 years ago. You would find, like I said, just a relaxer and shampoo. That's everything was just to alter our texture there, to get as much kinks and cruise out, to get it as sleek as possible. That was the message, right?
Yeah.
And so now they've taken note because consumers, we are looking for how products to moisturize my hair, products to care for this hair. And so now if you go into any supermarket, any store, if you go into, listen, literally in every corner of Cape Town in South Africa, and Cape Town is actually spoiled in terms of products. There's literally every product for every hair strand on the market. It actually becomes a bit overwhelming because you don't know, okay, what do I do? What do I not buy, etc. Right? And also, those remedies, the avocado and the egg, those have been coming on for generations in our communities, because that's how we looked after before. That's how Africa looked after our hair because all the natural resources comes from Africa, until then they commercialize it, etc. And now we have to buy the same things back now again. And so products are safer. There's one study that was found in 2020 actually that found that something like 30% of women, mostly in their 40s and 50s, that were diagnosed with cancer, found that 30% of those women have been relaxing their hair since their adolescent years. So that is at least 25 years.
Yeah.
And so it's a very scary statistic that would mean that it's 3 out of 10 women that are diagnosed with any form of cancer has been relaxing their hair for 25 years. So if you are relaxing your hair, obviously those relaxant chemicals have gone and stayed and lived in your bloodstream because we relax our hair. So we relaxed our hair so often. So it's very, very dangerous. And so now they've taken note of us. They've taken note of our needs for our texture there, and we are not in the place anymore. And we say we don't want to alter our hair. We have accepted our natural textured hair, so much so that we've got so many international brands, but we've got so many amazing local brands as well. And literally, even in the informal market as well. If I just open my Facebook, I see here's a new brand or here's somebody that's making products out of her kitchen and she's doing it and she's making a living. It's like a side hustle now. There's so many, it's too many to mention, right? But the forecast is that the value in South Africa in terms of hair care, the hair care industry, by 2024, which is in 2 years' time, the forecast and the value of this market is half $500 million. $500 million. Sorry, $500 million. That is the value thereof. So more and more international brands are wanting the piece of this pie. The local brands are delivering. And then you've got your informal traders as well, the startup businesses who are still making products in their kitchens, etc., which is exciting for me. Nerve-wracking for them, but exciting for me as an activist and somebody that's involved in this market. So now you've got options, and it's all about doing your research and listening to your hair. What does your hair need? You start there. That's what it is. So if your hair is a little more dry, then you get more moisture. But don't get crazy, because don't go out now you want to try every little product, natural hair product that is available, rather than just listen to what your hair is saying and then you purchase that.
I like what you said at the end. Listen to your ear. Do you? It's the same like when Uncle Charlie was speaking in the interview before you about the flowers. A lot of what the flowers are telling you and how we grow our gardens tells you about us and how we manage our families. And I almost want to ask this question: with the international companies coming on board, does that almost give you as a person a sense of more pride in saying, oh, okay, so they accept us more, and so we need to accept ourselves, and which also now means, as you said, listen to your ear. We need to start listening to ourselves as a person and our gut, going back to our gut and saying, who are we, what do we need, and not just follow the masses kind of thing.
Oh, most definitely, most definitely. And I think one of the main things that a lot of international brands are taking note of is that they need to localize. They need to localize. They cannot just come, and I think a few brands have learned this lesson. We are very unique people. Our environment and our climate is very different. Our water is different. So you cannot just come with a copy and paste strategy. You have to localize it to the South African female, and the South African natural hair consumer. I think also that it is more of from what I've experienced and what I've learned is that, and dealing with a lot of international clients myself, is that they are always so amazed at, especially in Cape Town, always so amazed at our people and how we look after our hair and how we navigate through all of the challenges, because you'll be surprised that a lot of our people, we don't know enough about our country. And I've learned that myself now. A lot of people that have just visited our country know more about me. So I'm forced to go and learn even a little bit more about my country. So I definitely think it instills a sense of pride and also a sense of, you know what, people are noticing. People are noticing, and we are on the map. We are a long time on the map. In fact, 2 weeks ago, there was just another international brand, a premium brand that was launched in South Africa, which tells you, even in this bad economy, that people are still coming to our country and wanting to have a presence here.
It's funny how a lot of, as the same scenario that you made with people accepting us outside, but we don't accept ourselves. And that is kind of the message that has been coming through all three of the interviews, that we need to start accepting ourselves, especially on this Heritage Day. Accept who you are, learn about more about yourself and your culture. Ons weet alles van die Kardashians. As we
Yeah.
but we do not know anything about ourselves, and that is the thing we need to change. What are some of the what advice do you have for women when it comes to their hair?
Let me say this. I always tell this to everyone that inboxes me and, wants to start their natural hair journey or they're going through something. Take your time. You are in no rush and in no comparison with anyone. Okay? If you are wanting to start your natural hair journey, meaning no relaxers, no chemical treatments, no heat, and you don't want to alter your natural textured hair, your hair is different from my hair. I have a friend, they're three girls, same mom, same dad. Hulle hare is verskillend. Die een se hare is 'n type 2, die ander is 'n type 4, die ander is 'n type 3. Different. I've got 2 or 3 friends like that. Almal se hair texture is different. So just remember that your hair texture is different. Read up. There is so many bloggers and vloggers that you can identify with. There's so much information. There's more information now available than what there was when I started my natural hair journey in 2011. Read up. Once you've made a decision, read up about it. Don't compare your hair to anyone else's. It is your journey. It is a very personal journey because you're gonna now. It's almost like I know a friend of mine. She was just wearing weaves. You would not find her without a weave. Not in the morning, not in the evening. Weaves. And for her, it took her, I think, 9 months to just walk outside, go to the mall, Tango Mall to sauna a weave. She said the first time she did it, it was so emotional, but at the same time, it was so freeing to her. But it took time for her. It took a lot of time. And now she's rocking this big afro. She goes to work with a big afro. She loves her life with a big afro now and a natural hair, but it took a lot of time. Again, like I said, with the products, don't go after every post. Oh, now I need to try this product and now I need to try this product. No. Again, you do your research, find out what your hair needs. If you find a product that looks after and caters to your hair needs, you stick to it. Done. I don't change my products unless my hair says otherwise. Being here in Germany, the water is very harsh on my hair. The first couple of months, my hair was drying out. Then I needed to add a little more moisture. Then I bought the product to add more moisture, and my routine changed because I needed to moisturize my hair more because of. En is koud en die weer is droog en is winter en die water is nie lekker nie. I don't know where they source their water from, but it was mainly the water. So you listen to your hair. And then also finally, look after the curl that you have, not after the curl that you desire. Because a lot of us, we go natural and then we think that we're going to have that perfect S-curl, the perfect curl that everyone desires. I know that, and they call it the perfect S-curl, and we want that. And there's ways to get it by means of a chemical treatment. Then you can get this perfect S-curl. But that is, for me, that is not the true essence of being natural, right? You nourish and you cater to the curl that you have, not to the curl that you desire in your mind. Because a lot of us find that, oh, okay, ik heb toch wel tight coil curl. And then we're not happy with it. So you look after the curl that you have. And then again, I pass no judgment. I say, if you are a relaxed and flat iron girl, that's fine. It's a personal journey. I don't judge anyone. People come to my events as well with straight hair. I say, "Hi, gaat die mense nie vir my judge nie." Nee, niemand gaan vir jou judge nie. No one is going to judge you because it's your journey. It is a very, very difficult thing, especially because, obviously, because of the outside voices, but also this is the only thing that we've known all our lives. So 20 years, 25, 30 years. So it's not going to just change overnight. So be patient with yourself and extend the same grace to yourself that you would for anyone else. And you embrace your journey and you take your time with your journey.
Okay. And then you also have something as we come to the end of the interview. You have your own event happening. Iba amper nie is ophou nie, maar Stanley raak kwaad hier because ons praat nie oor sy hare nie.
Oh, okay.
Ja. So ek
Maar strijd.
Ja, nee, maar dat is jouw heritage. Hij is deel van jouw heritage.
Jabra, so ek wil nou nie julle interrupt maar my mother and my sisters had the same journey as, gesukkel met die hare. I had to go on a Saturday afternoon to the Bobby. I'm
Ja.
met die penteels koop. I'm
Ja.
met ek sien die hairstraight in die koop en pons because we met my ma moet daar reg maak. So they will start at 4 o'clock the afternoon and be done tonight 12 o'clock toen ons 6 kinders. En dan sonnagoggend as hy perm uit, dan as die klas as die perm uit, and then they come back home as it weer back to normal.
het te veel getuig.
So ek verstaan die struggle. I was really part of the struggle. I support you ladies. En ek kyk na my kinders vandag. My suster se hare is nog dieselfde, maar my dogter se hare is straight. So like you say, so net niks scary over differently.
Yes, sir. I cannot express, and we try to I have a friend, also another friend of mine, and she's got her surname is Pillay, but says baie donker en sy het 'n afro. So she says people are always confused when they meet her because Pillay is very Indian surname, and then they see her in the year en sy het in die plein groot geraak. So they see her the year. It's like, okay, so what is Jay presies? What are you? So they try to like, okay, what are you exactly? Are you black? Are you Indian? Are you colored? As a yellow mixed breed. And that is part of our story. That is part of our history and where we come from. I mean, growing up, people always thought that I was a Xhosa speaking or a Zulu speaking woman. Literally, I've had many Labola offerings literally come to me and say, no, we want to, my cousin now, he's here, I will now throw it, no Labola negotiations. I think like, what are you talking about? A lot of guys, but what is your real name, Simone? What is your real name? And I said, what do you mean, what is my real name? No, your name is not Simone. Your name is, ek was a Siyanda of a Tandi of a, that was my name. A lot of Zulu, Black, Xhosa guys, they did not believe that I was colored. And I said, I'm colored, here's my ID. No, you are ashamed of where you are coming from. And at one point, this one guy, I was married already, and this one guy was chasing my mother and I in the mall, and ek dink, oh, wat gaan nou hier, wil iemand of ons hijack? And I say, I praat met my ma, I say, no, my uncles are here, we want to discuss the Labola for your daughter. And ek say, but I'm married, I say, no, we are talking to your mother.
Hey, ons kom deur dieselfde goede hoor. Like I had people like they would talk to me on the language because they would think my husband wouldn't understand. I laughed, because I weet.
It's scary sometimes as well. It's very scary. Because they would get very angry. They would get literally so upset because they said you ashamed of where you are coming from. Why are you ashamed? This is just your economic political name. What is your real name? I at one point showed my ID. They said no. That's not your real ID. So it's a mixture, and it speaks a lot of where we come from. It speaks a lot, and for me, the nuances and the tapestry and the textures, I think it's still so beautiful. I think it's so beautiful. So you can literally fit in anywhere that you wish to fit in, and I think it's so beautiful.
And I think I like that part that we can fit in anyway, isn't it?
Yeah.
Ons is 'n mixed tell us a little bit about your event. What is happening?
Yes, so I'm very excited, very nerve-wracking. That's keeping me up at night. But the Cruise Rocks Day Out, it's taking place on the 16th of December, Friday the 16th of December, at the Market Hall in Grand West. casino and entertainment you know, entertainment world. Got the name wrong now. So that's on the 16th of December. We have a host, there's a lot happening. So, for instance, if you are just starting out on your natural hair journey, we will also have breakaway masterclass sessions. It is sponsored by Mayal Organics and AfriPure. Mayal is, of course, an international brand, and I actually just used the product yesterday for treatment to get ready for this interview. And AfriPure is a local South African brand. They're 2 years old, and I've been walking a journey with both brands for a number of years now. So the doors, we start at 10 a.m. Tickets are available at Web Tickets, and we're actually running a promotion, especially for Heritage Day, up until the 26th, Monday, I think, at midnight. So tickets are now until Monday, midnight on Monday, the 26th. Is going for 250 Rand. And you will get a goodie bag and a welcome drink as well. So there's, if you want some sparkling wine or a soft drink as well, there's a welcome drink for you. We've got a host of, entertainment speakers. Our guest speaker is Miss Ingrid Jones from Tussen Ons. We know her from Tussen Ons. And then we've got Chris Lincias, the MCs, and Lizette Boys, also known as Wiskunde Yuffie. So she's got the channel, yes. They are one of the MCs, and then of course we've got Vino on the entertainment bill as well with this saxophone, and then we've got more to announce, but that will have to wait. So please support. There's lots of natural hair demonstrations, natural hair talks, as well as, like I said, the breakaway masterclass sessions as well. So it's a full day out. And of course, you get a goodie bag. The goodie bag at this point stands at the value of the bag stands at roughly about 750 Rand. So we're still waiting on more things to confirm, but that's the value at the moment. So already your ticket, you're getting your value of your ticket back twice actually 3 times.
Basically, it's event free.
Basically, if you're considering all of the goodie bag value on its own. That's just what I can tell you at this point in time. So I don't want to spoil anything just yet. We've got some more, things on the bill that we will announce on our social media page, and I will definitely also send you some of the information.
Yes, definitely. Once we're done with this live, because ek weet nie ek weet nie as hulle load shedding kry in Germany nie, maar ons is 8 minute weg van load shedding af. Yes. But anyway, we will then add your link to the chat,
Awesome.
so people can connect there, and if you can also send us the poster, and we'll
Yes.
also add the poster for your event. But at this stage, I just want to say thank you for joining us all the way from Germany. Ek wil eers kyk het as hy regtig in Germany man, because ek weet die mense wat so lieg, wat sê hulle is in Germany, en is hulle hier en ek kan met Delft. Ek foto's op haar profile wat sê sy's in Germany, so ek glo vir haar.
I can show you as baie aspal,
Ek wil amper vir jou gesê dat by so foto dat ons kan sien.
The weather makes you want to sleep. Jy wil net slaap. En ek kan nie slaap. Ek kan nie afford te slaap. Ek het 'n PhD om te doen.
For joining us. The moment we asked, she said yes. And it was very educational.
Yes, it was.
Someone did state in there that you must please send us your research, so that your research with Zena's research, we would like to do like a panel thing again, based on what your thesis were about, so that we can just explore it a bit more from every angle. Ek weet die uur is min om oor te praat, but it was very insightful, and I hope people learned a lot from that. Even Stanley gaan nou different goed te doen met sy baard. I stay there, nice met ons. Thank you for joining us. Is there any last words from your side?
No, other than thank you so much for the invitation. It's always an honor and a privilege Thank you so much for what you are doing as well as Cape Flat Stories. I think it's wonderful, and I think that we need to forward this. And then, yeah, I see you on the 16th of December at Market
Definitely.
Hall in Grand West.
Definitely. I'll bring my sisters with because I think it will speak to them, They have always wanted to be identified. So, but the struggle is real. And to all my sisters out there, because I grew up with that struggle. I appreciate you guys. And, I don't think less or more of you. I think of you guys as, God's creation.
Can I just say for the men, kyk so when you touch through our hair and it hack fast, that just means that we love you that much.
Yeah.
That we hold on to you. So moenie bang.
Listen, let me just say, when I started, my husband and I started dating, I had straight hair, so I was relaxing my hair. And when I started my natural hair journey, and ever so often, once or twice a year, I'll do a blow dry and a flat iron to do a length check and whatever. And I will come home and then take my man from my aunt and say, no, wanneer gaan die nou verby is, kan jy net jou terugbring, kan jy jou cruiser terugbring asseblief. So my husband prefers, by all means, prefers my natural hair above everything else. Hy sal met hulle, nou, ek gaan nie as prins sê, kom ons aan shower om net om my hare te maak. So I think that men in general are, like they say in America, they woke now and they are appreciative of the natural hair journey, and also the confidence that it kind of just exuberates in their girlfriends, their wives, their sisters, and they support it. I remember this one guy sent me an email and he said, I want to buy my girlfriend, I think it's his girlfriend or his wife, and he bought like t-shirts and earrings. And he said, my wife wants tickets for your events, man, let me know. But this was like in advance. He said, no, I'm going to buy the ticket now already because it means so much to her. So for me, that is an indication that it is changing, and I'm here for it all.
Yeah. I think your husband is sending all the love. Hy soek weer brownie points. Hoeveel Cape Flat Stories gebruik vir die voete nie. Asseblief sort julle huisprobleme uit by die huis.
Love you too.
Nogal so ons in die man opbring hier. So, om nie so te sê. But thank you again, Simone. We
Thank
would
you
really
very much.
Ik praat ons maar verstaan. Yes, yes, my surely. We would really like to have you back here again to have this discussion again. And thank you for availing yourself.
Not a problem at all. Enjoy your bride. I dink aan my.
Ons gaan,
Well,
maar jy moet ook verstaan, as hy dit was net, ons gewoon net belownies nou, hoor. Dit is net vir ons, is dit 'n belownie op die ene. Ek moet so ons gaan sien, sê. So ons gaan net ook na jou toe, all the way na Germany, toe moet nou so was belownie. Belownie gaan.
Thank you so much. Have a good day, everybody, and onwards and upwards.
Stanley is just going to end of the live.
yeah. Thank you so much. And we see you soon. Cheers.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Ladies and gentlemen, that was Simone from Germany. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm just waiting for one more guest to join us. He will join us shortly. Ja, ek het mos heel en gel gebruik. Nou nog hare te sien. Ek sny my hare so moet kyk ek is mos half Khoi. Ek is half Indian, ek is half Jan van Riebeeck, ek het van alles. So ek het Jan van Riebeeck se brille aan. Ek het my Indian pa se lank se hare en ek het my Khoi se baard, It makes me, Julle wil nog baie dinge en ek het my mense van Malaysia so wait. So yeah, but thank you so much for tuning in. I will be back shortly. We're just gonna take a quick break. I'll play some music. I'm just waiting for Emil, our next guest. He will join us shortly. If you guys know Emil from Black Noise, he's gonna join us now. I'm just waiting for him. And then thank you so much. Share this broadcast. It's our first time we're broadcasting via the radio station. I just need to connect again. But I think this is the vision. The idea was always to expand Cape Flat Stories. This is just one part of what we're doing. you guys can expect much more in the next couple of weeks. The idea is to tell our stories, just like we're doing now. En as niks om ons skaamte wees op die honde vir ons het stories. Ons mense se stories moet vertel word, nie deur ander mense nie, man, deur ons eie mense. And for that reason, we need to create platforms, we need to create vehicles that can take our stories to the next level. Guys, I'll be back with you now.
At Montreal, you can always serve a ball. With the vibe, it's so happy. Playing all the happy all. At Montreal, where the jazz is fun and free. Where the vibes are so happy. Ask a girl or a chappy to dance. In your dreams or your saber, you find you able to fly. With a glass in your hand and the song of the band on your side. So come along and come boy to the place that has it all, where the vibes are so happy. The girl are rich happy to dance. It's a social experience. The summer of fall. When you hear the good times call at Montreal. Good times call. Come along to Montreal.
Hey guys, hope you guys are good. Sorry man, ons is 'n bietjie weg gewees gou. Ek can be honest, we just had to look at the settings, but ons het dit uitgefigure. Ons groei. So, we're just waiting for your meal. But you know, the conversation this morning was about our heritage. Was about our heritage, and you know what it is that we have. You know, also, we have a lot of heritage, and we don't celebrate our heritage because I think there's also a lack of transferring knowledge. I mean, only for me was only the last few. Let's just get it correct. The last few 2 years with my mother was when she really opened up to me, when she told me from waar sy gebore was en om al daai goede. And I think we should do that very at a very young or very early age with our kids. Waar is julle vandaan? Because we have heritage, we have a lot, and we should celebrate it. We shouldn't, like Simone said, people explored us. People, the we are the majority. Ons is die majority van mense, maar ons hare wat vir 'n gat gevat en dinge soos daai. En even ons mans, we must learn to respect our women. That is like I said, it was the first thing that I got used to was my mother, teaching me from a young age dat haar hare is straight en so nie en my susters hulle and they tried, hulle try almal die remedies en die scalp burner. My sister se koppie agter was opgewis because they didn't also know back then how strong this stuff are, because my sister se kop was opgewis and children used to laugh at us. So my mom het vir haar die koop gesit het en in die middag as sy huis toe kom as haar hare as haar kop bloedrooi. So it's things like that we need to speak about, and we need to stand up for our women, and we need to tell society, but it's okay not to be normal. What is normal? In your words, what is normal? Because ons dink nou aan styl hare, a sexy body. Maybe just get this correct hier. Ons te veel maar net a sexy body.
Sy moet praat.
A sexy body. Ons het almal daai goede wat ons nou that we actually sort of we make it normal. And that is the one thing the stories that I share with my daughter is jou ouma se hare was nie alles jou hare straight, jou ouma se hare was nie straight nie. But aside from your ouma se hare, let me just do this. Aside from your ouma se hare, we also have heritage where we come from. I mean, Zina was phenomenal. Zina actually spoke about things that you would expect politicians to know. But here you have a young girl that speaks about, let's put it like this, about land and identifying herself with the land. These people are telling us we don't have identity. Yes, to a certain extent they're right, because our identity are linked to our land and where we come from. And they have removed us from the land and they have told us, over the years, but you don't belong here. This is not you. You were just squatting and all these things. And I think that is what we need to also tell our kids. We have heritage, we have identity. We just need to go and find out, where it is and sort of, share this information with our kids, What does Heritage Day mean to you, Beautiful?
Well, before it didn't really mean anything, but after today, speaking to Zena and the likes of Simone and Uncle Charlie, you kind of there's that string that's being reconnected to the heart, almost like a little heart surgery being done because altyd as ons praat oor heritage, dan praat ons oor die hip-hop en die goed, en it's like die dancer and the fun element in the braai situation. But today I think what we did differently, we connected parts of us. The leg connected with the heart, all the veins came together, and now it's connecting in the brain. And I think that's what I'm so grateful for when it comes to Zena and Simone and Uncle Charlie, is that they really opened up a new angle with regards to our heritage.
Yeah.
Where we come from. And the fact that all of them said there's not a lot of history on where we come from does explain sometimes why we run around sometimes like headless chickens almost in a way. Because we don't have that as iemand die sê dan spring ons op daai feature, as iemand hy sê spring ons op daai feature, but today they kind of brought it home to say that we have a heritage. It was just interrupted, as Simone so
Yeah.
nicely put it. It
Yeah.
was interrupted. And now we need to find our groove again. It's like soos wanneer jy lang arm dans met Uncle Charlie en iemand stamp op jou toon. You just need to compose yourself again, get into posture again,
Yeah.
and then do the thing. So maybe by you doing this today, and showing us a different view of our heritage, we are now recomposing ourselves.
Yeah.
Ons kry ons weer in die lang arm composure.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then hopefully the dance after this will be a little bit more smoother.
Okay. And you are so right, but it's going to depend on me and you and the rest of us. Do we want to embrace this heritage of ours? Do we want to do this? Or do we just, here's one thing that I can say. We can rebuild Cape Town. We can rebuild the Western Cape, the Cape Flats. But if you and I don't buy into changing the culture, changing the narrative, the mindset, we're just gonna have nice buildings and things. It's totally up to us how we bring that, that unity, that what's the uniformity to the front. How do we unite and how do we embrace one another's culture? Some people don't like the word. We had the meeting on Monday night, on Wednesday night. Some of my friends don't like the word colored. They don't want to be called a colored because they believe colored is a term given by the white man. It's like a term wat jou swak laat. Like dit is soos die ander woord vir die ander mense. And they say if you're gonna address me and you're gonna as an ethnic group, you're gonna have to address me as a Khoi. But this is my question. We need to also know who the Khoi are, who the San are. We need to know where we come from. Because I feel strictly that our family trees should become important. And it's important for us to go and look. Who was the people that, created us? Who was the people that, gave life to us? Waarvandaan kom ons? And I think that is the hidden part of our heritage of us as a people. Waarvandaan kom ons? So unfortunately, Emil won't be able to join us. He's just messaged me now. He's on the road, but he will join me later on. So I'll go live again later on. You just need to give me a time. Maybe you can also, then I will just call you in. We will continue the conversation. I think Heritage Day is a heel dag ding. I can do it till 12 o'clock, depending on the load shedding. So thank you to each and everyone that tuned in. Thank you for sharing the live broadcast. I see a lot of people share it. I think that's the main idea. And the radio station, thank you so much for those that tune in. We're still struggling a bit, but we managed to be busy perfecting it. And very soon we will run, 12-hour shifts of radio and Bjorn Vergelei manage. So 12-hour shifts with our children speaking with our people, chatting and telling our stories, man. I think that is the hele move. Anything from you, Bjorn, before I end off?
No, I just wanted to say thank you to Trinity Trust Foundation. Julle kan sien daar. Ons is mooi busy. Yeah. For our space. Ons like half far, like hulle moet net sien like die foto's ja.
Ja.
Ons is like ons eie
Jy kopie soek.
ons het
As vanoggend geprint sommer.
So yes, thank you for the hospitality. If ever you need some kind of how a good business is being run, gooi in.
Ja.
Ons het so ginger tea gekry en is het rooibos tea. Ons tuis kom ons stemme gaan tot vanaand 12 o'clock toe. Wat gaan nie af met load shedding.
Ja.
We got back. It was just we as presenters were made to feel special just coming into this place, which we then entrusted or transferred over to our interviewees. And so also a great thank you to everyone, our interviewees that joined us, Zena, Simone, Uncle Charlie that came in and offered up their time to come and be with you guys today. I hope you guys learned. Also just starting off, we would also like to hear some recommendations, what we can do better.
Yeah.
And how we can improve. Obviously, yes, we do have a bit of technical issues before, and so we apologize for that. But please also just tell us what we can do better.
I think it's always about improvement as well. What can I do better? Because you know what? if we don't improve, then we're not going to go anywhere. And like Jonathan said, the gentleman that runs this business with his partners, the Trinity Trust Foundation, is Paul Adams. He's always on the page. He's slim, he's very slim. He knows how to start businesses, build business models, and I would get him actually one day on. I would actually like to have him on. He must be on. Him and there's another gentleman, that also have a few businesses. The two of them being on the show can actually give a lot of information to you guys struggling with your smaller businesses. So yeah, thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. En ookie, moet ek vir ons criticize, remember? Was it een micie, was it een laptopie? We're still busy, we're still in the process. If you can sponsor us with equipment, ons vir die geld nie. If you can sponsor us with equipment, please do so. But I foresee this radio station. We already have another spot that we're setting up. Very soon the spot will be done. It will be something that will represent us, the layout, everything. I think the idea is to have a space, where our children can come after school and present in the neighborhood, where our aunties that are, on pension can come and say, but guys, I'm going to talk about the situation. We're using this platform to educate and to bring back our heritage. We have heritage, not bringing it back, but to show or to shine the spotlight on our heritage. So please, guys, if you can, contact us. We'll set up an email address for the specific radio station. And one day we're going to look, no, one day, in a few months from now, we're going to look back and say, yeah, kyk wat ons begin, kyk hoe dit gesukkel. And that is exactly what life is about. When I was at home and I had to leave home, I will always remember this. Ek het nie geld gehad nie. Ek het nie baie klere gehad nie. Ek het 2 broekies gehad, 2 paskoene, 'n paar tikkies en 'n paskoene en 'n paar hempies en 'n paar ties en 'n Bybel en my basgitaar. And so I got married. And when I got married, I could buy, now I could buy a house. Okay, before I got married, when I left the house, I bought a house. I had to struggle. And just last night, I drove past that old house of mine, and I'm like, that's where I started, and this is where I am now at. And that is the stories we need to share with the young people. You don't necessarily start on top. You start at the bottom, and everything, and you work your way up. And once you work your way up, you feel better. You feel it's accomplishments, it's hard gewerk, and you pat yourself on the back and say, well done. So thank you so much, and you'll be back.
Kan ons vir die mense net so 'n bietjie kwaad maak gou?
Ja.
Ons wil net well done sê aan New Zealand for winning.
Nou maar seker net hy sê die mense. Sy soek nou moeilikheid.
And then ek weet nie as ons bid vir die Springbok om te wen nie. At 5 o'clock, hey? So happy heritage vir almal die mense wat rugby kyk.
Yeah, guys. And then also I'll be back on Monday night. We will continue with the conversation on the relocation. And please download the app. If you don't have the app, go to MyTuner. So every broadcast that will happen from now onwards will be streamed via our YouTube channel, yes, as well as our Facebook page and our radio station, because sometimes you have load shedding, so you don't have Wi-Fi or you don't have a good connection with the radio app. You can still actually, listen, and it costs you less data. So thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. Het was lekker geweest en ons maak weer so next week. Cheers. Bye.